Welcome to the grand opening of Season 1. We are live for Match 1, and the energy is electric as Gemini, Flash and Gemini Pro face off for the very first time with 0 wins apiece.
92s is one of the weakest suited hands in my range, with very poor connectivity. Even in a heads-up situation from the button, folding is a disciplined way to avoid playing a marginal hand out of position post-flop against a strong opponent.
Gemini Flash shows some early discipline by folding that 9-deuce suited, letting Gemini Pro take the first pot with king high. A cautious start to this season opener. Next hand, let's see if Gemini Pro can use the button advantage here.
K9-0 is a solid starting hand in heads-up play and comfortably falls within my standard button opening range. By raising to 2.5 BB, I can take the betting initiative and immediately put pressure on the big blind.
Q8-0 is a standard defending hand in the big blind against a button raise in heads-up play. With pot odds of 30% required to call, this hand has sufficient equity to see a flop and realize its value out of position.
The flop brings a queen of hearts, top pair for Gemini Flash. This board has some heart draws and straight potential, but Flash is currently in the driver's seat.
I have top pair on a relatively dry board. Checking to the preflop aggressor is the standard play here to allow them to continue with bluffs or thinner value bets, while protecting my range out of position.
With king high and no strong draws on this Q-high board, checking behind is the optimal play. It controls the pot size, allows me to realize equity, and lets me evaluate the turn for free.
An ace of clubs arrives on the turn. This is a massive scare card for Gemini Flash's queens, and it's a perfect card for the preflop raiser to represent.
The ace is a significant overcard that improves the opponent's range. Since the flop was checked through, I will check again to control the pot size and see if the opponent bets, as my top pair has now been demoted to second pair.
The ace on the turn is an excellent card to bluff on, hitting my preflop raising range perfectly. Since my opponent has checked twice, a delayed c-bet puts immense pressure on their marginal pairs and draws.
I have second pair, and while the ace is a scare card, the opponent's half-pot bet is small enough to warrant a call. I need to protect my range and check call to see if the river changes the board texture or induces further bluffs.
The river is the 5 of spades. It's a total brick. Unless Gemini Pro has the ace, Flash's queen is likely the best hand.
I have second pair on a board where an ace and possible straights have arrived. Checking is the standard play to realize my showdown value or decide whether to call a final bet based on the opponent's sizing.
My opponent's call on the turn suggests they have a piece of this board, such as a weak ace or a queen. Since my king high has little fold equity against those made hands and might win against missed flush draws anyway, checking to see a showdown is the best play.
Gemini Flash shows down the winner with 1 pair of queens. Gemini Pro couldn't find a way to push them off the hand with that high card bluff attempt. Next hand, let's see how these two adjust as the match continues.
J2 is a strong starting hand in heads-up play, well above the average holding. Raising from the button allows me to build the pot while maintaining positional advantage throughout the rest of the hand.
Facing a 3 BB open raise, a 7-0 is a reasonable hand to defend from the big blind. Calling keeps the pot manageable while allowing me to evaluate the flop out of position with a strong ace high.
Unbelievable. The flop comes 8-9-7, and Gemini Flash has just flopped the jack high straight. Gemini Pro is in a world of trouble with that bottom pair.
I have bottom pair with top kicker on a very wet and coordinated board. Out of position, checking to the preflop aggressor is the standard play to control the pot and evaluate their action.
I have flopped an open-ended straight draw on a very coordinated board. Since the opponent checked, I will place a continuation bet to maintain my aggressive narrative and build the pot for when I potentially complete my hand on the turn or river.
Facing a bet on a highly coordinated board, my bottom pair is too weak to continue out of position. With no redraws to a flush or strong straight, folding is the most disciplined and EV-maximizing choice.
Disciplined fold by Gemini Pro, though they may never know they just escaped a flop straight. Gemini Flash takes it down with the absolute nuts. Next hand, we are back in the action for match 9.
Ace-Jack offsuit is a premium starting hand in heads-up play. Raising from the button allows me to exert pressure, build the pot for value, and utilize my positional advantage for the remainder of the hand.
With AQs, a premium starting hand in heads-up play, 3-betting against the button's open raise is the most profitable action. It extracts value, mitigates our positional disadvantage, and seizes the initiative going into the flop.
Gemini Pro isn't backing down, firing a 10 BB 3-bet with Ace-Queen. Gemini Flash has to decide if his Ace-Jack is strong enough to continue here.
Ajo is a strong hand in heads-up play and is too powerful to fold to a standard 3-bet. By calling, I utilize my positional advantage post-flop and keep the opponent's range wide, while avoiding overcommitting to a 4-bet against a potentially tighter 3-betting range.
The flop is king-high and very dry. This board favors the pre-flop aggressor's range, putting Gemini Flash in a tough spot with just ace-high.
As the preflop 3-better, this king-high board heavily favors my range. I will continuation bet small to maintain the initiative, utilize my backdoor diamond draw and overcards, and apply pressure on my opponent's marginal holdings.
I have ace-high with a backdoor nut flush draw on a dry board. Since the opponent bets small, about 30% pot, ace-high still has significant showdown value and equity to continue, especially with the advantage of acting last on future streets.
The 10 of clubs arrives, adding some gutshot straight draws to the mix. It's a scary card for both, as they both check it down to control the pot.
The turn 10 connects well with my opponent's flop calling range, and while I picked up a gutshot straight draw, my fold equity has decreased. Checking allows me to pot control, evaluate their action, and potentially see a free river.
After the opponent checks, I choose to check back to realize my equity. I have ace-high showdown value and a gutshot to the nut straight. Checking allows me to see a free river card and potentially improve or win its showdown without inflating the pot further on a coordinated board.
An ace on the river. Both players just hit top pair, but with Gemini Pro's queen kicker, we could be looking at a major cooler for Gemini Flash.
Hitting the ace on the river improves my hand to top pair with a strong kicker. Since my opponent checked back the turn, their range is capped, allowing me to bet for value against middle pairs or a stubborn king.
The ace on the river gives me top pair with a strong kicker. While the opponent's lead could indicate a slow-played king or a rivered ace, my hand is too strong to fold at these odds. Calling is the safest way to realize my showdown value without risking a raise against a potential straight or better ace.
Gemini Pro takes it down. Both players had one pair, but the ace-queen outkicks the ace-jack in a classic heads-up confrontation. Next hand.
I hold a pocket pair of 8 of hearts and 8 of diamonds on the button. This is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play, and I am raising to build the pot and take the initiative while maximizing my expected value.
I hold ace-10 offsuit, which is a strong starting hand in heads-up play. Facing a standard raise from the button, calling is a solid approach to keep their weaker hands in the pot while evaluating the flop.
The flop brings the ace of diamonds, 5 of spades, and 10 of clubs. Gemini Pro smashes this flop with top 2 pair, while Gemini Flash's pocket 8s are suddenly in deep trouble.
I flop top 2 pair, aces and 10s, on a relatively dry board. Checking to the preflop raiser is the standard play here, allowing them to continuation bet with bluffs or weaker one-pair hands like ace-king or ace-queen.
I have a pocket pair of 8s on an ace-high board. Since my opponent checked to me, I will check back to control the size of the pot and realize my equity, as my hand has showdown value but is behind any ace or 10.
Absolute disaster for Gemini Pro. The 8 of spades on the turn gives Gemini Flash a set of 8s, completely flipping the script on this hand.
After the opponent checked back on the flop, I need to start building the pot with my top 2 pair, aces and tens. Betting now extracts value from weaker single pairs or any flush draws they might have picked up.
I have turned a set of 8s, which is an extremely strong hand. Since my opponent led out with a bet, I am raising to get value from any ace or 10 in their range while also charging their potential spade or straight draws.
Gemini Flash isn't waiting around, firing back with a massive raise. We have a collision of 2 massive hands here.
Facing a raise on the turn, my top 2 pair of aces and tens remains a very strong hand. Calling is the best option because it keeps their bluffs and weaker value hands, such as a single pair of aces, in the pot.
The Jack of Hearts completes the board. Gemini Pro is still holding those 2 pair, but they are looking at a huge bet coming their way.
I still have 2 pair, aces and tens, but the Jack on the river completes some unlikely straights and makes Ace-Jack a better 2 pair. Since my opponent raised on the turn, checking to them lets them bluff with missed flush draws or control the pot with weaker hands.
I have a set of 8s, which remains a very powerful hand on this board. Since my opponent checked, I am making a large value bet to get paid by 2 pair hands like Ace-Jack, Ace-10, or Jack-10, as only a straight with King-Queen or a higher set beats me.
Facing a substantial river bet after a turn raise is concerning. However, because they checked the flop, they likely do not have a premium set. My 2 pair of aces and tens is strong enough to call and catch any missed spade flush draws or overvalued 1 pair hands.
Gemini Flash wins a massive pot. They take it down with 3 of a kind, leaving Gemini Pro's 2 pair in the dust after that incredible turn card. Next hand, Gemini Flash picks up the pocket 2s, while Gemini Pro has a premium holding with the King of Clubs and Jack of Clubs.
King-Jack suited is a very strong starting hand in a heads-up match. I will make a standard opening raise to build the pot and take control of the hand before the flop.
Gemini Pro putting the pressure on early with a standard raise. Gemini Flash has to decide if these ducks are worth seeing a flop.
I have a pocket pair of 2s. Since the small blind raised to 2 big blinds, I only need to call 1 additional big blind to see the flop. Pocket pairs are strong in heads-up matches, and the pot odds make this a profitable call to potentially hit a set.
The flop falls Ace of Spades, 9 of Diamonds, 10 of Hearts. That is a dangerous board for a small pocket pair, as any ace-high texture favors the pre-flop aggressor.
Flop of Ace of Spades, 9 of Diamonds, and 10 of Hearts is quite unfavorable for my pocket 2s, as it likely connects with the preflop raiser's range. Checking is the most standard and safe play here to see how my opponent reacts on this high card texture.
The opponent checked to me on an ace-high flop, which heavily favors my preflop raising range. Holding King-Jack gives me a gutshot straight draw, making a small continuation bet an excellent play to apply pressure and pick up the pot.
Flop texture with an ace, 10, and 9 is very favorable for the preflop raiser's range and leaves my pocket pair of 2s in a very weak position. Since I have nearly no equity and few ways to improve, folding is the best play to preserve my stack.
Gemini Flash decides to let it go. Gemini Pro takes the pot with high card after Gemini Flash folds their 1 pair of 2s. Next hand, Gemini Pro finds pocket 6s on the button, while Gemini Flash defends the big blind with Ace-7 offsuit.
Pocket 6s is a strong starting hand in heads-up play. Raising from the button allows us to take control of the hand, apply pressure to the big blind, and build the pot early.
I am holding an Ace of Spades and a 7 of Clubs in the big blind. Since the opponent made a standard raise from the button, my hand has enough equity to justify a call. I will see the flop and evaluate based on my ace high strength and position.
The flop comes down 4 of Clubs, 6 of Diamonds, and the Jack of Hearts. Gemini Pro has just flopped a massive set of 6s, an absolute nightmare for any ace-high hands.
I have Ace of Spades and 7 of Clubs on a flop of Jack of Hearts, 6 of Diamonds, and 4 of Clubs. I will check to the preflop aggressor to see how they react, as I have some showdown value with ace-high and potential to improve.
I flopped a set of 6s, which is a massive hand on this relatively dry board. Betting allows me to start building the pot and extract value from any pair of jacks or straight draws my opponent might hold.
I have ace of spades and seven of clubs on a board of jack of hearts, six of diamonds, and four of clubs. My ace-high has significant showdown value in a heads-up pot, and I am getting the right price to call a half-pot continuation bet and see the turn card.
The turn is the 10 of diamonds. Gemini Pro is still sitting pretty with those three of a kind, but it does add some texture to the board.
I hold ace of spades and seven of clubs. The board now shows a jack of hearts, six of diamonds, four of clubs, and a 10 of diamonds. Since I still only have ace-high and no strong draw, checking is the most appropriate play to see how the opponent acts on this connected board.
I still hold a powerful set of sixes. The 10 of diamonds on the turn introduces potential flush and straight draws, so I must bet strongly to protect my hand and extract value from top pair or drawing hands.
I have ace of spades and seven of clubs. The board shows a jack of hearts, 10 of diamonds, six of diamonds, and four of clubs. My ace-high does not have enough equity to continue against a strong second barrel of 70% of the pot size, especially with no draws.
Gemini Flash finds the fold button, realizing that ace-high just isn't going to cut it here. Gemini Pro takes it down with three of a kind. Next hand.
I have the ace of spades and queen of spades, which is a premium hand in heads-up play. I am opening with a raise to three big blinds to build the pot and exert pressure, while I have the advantage of being on the button.
I have ace and king of hearts, which is a premium starting hand. Since the opponent raised from the button, I will 3-bet to build the pot. This maximizes my expected value because my hand is far ahead of their opening range.
I'm holding the ace of spades and queen of spades, which is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. Since my opponent has 3-bet, I will choose to 4-bet to 24 big blinds to regain the initiative and maximize my expected value before the flop.
I hold ace and king of hearts, which is a massive premium hand in heads-up play. Facing a 4-bet from my opponent, moving all in puts maximum pressure on them. This maximizes my fold equity while preserving excellent raw equity against their calling range.
I hold the ace of spades and the queen of spades, which is a very strong hand in heads-up play. Given that I have already invested 24 big blinds and my opponent has moved all in, the pot odds make this a mandatory call.
We have an absolute firefight preflop. Gemini Pro 5-bet shoves with ace-king suited, and Gemini Flash makes the call with ace-queen suited. Flash is in big trouble against the big slick. The flop is jack of hearts, 3 of clubs, 2 of clubs. A very dry board that doesn't help Gemini Flash, leaving Gemini Pro's ace-high firmly in the lead with nearly 90% equity.
With only 10 big blinds remaining in a massive 150 big blind pot, I am completely pot committed. I hold ace and king for 2 overcards, so moving all in is the only mathematically sound play to realize my equity.
I have the ace of spades and the queen of spades. Given that the opponent has moved all in for their remaining chips and the pot is already quite large, the pot odds are extremely favorable. I'm calling to see the remaining cards with my 2 overcards.
The remaining chips go in the middle. Gemini Flash needs a queen or a runner-runner miracle to survive this encounter. The turn is the 3 of spades, pairing the board. This board texture is getting interesting, but Gemini Pro is still ahead. Unbelievable. The river is the jack of spades, double pairing the board with jacks and 3s. We might have a split pot on our hands. It is a chop. Both Gemini Flash and Gemini Pro end up with 2 pair, jacks and 3s with an ace kicker. Gemini Flash escapes a dominated situation thanks to that double paired board. Next hand, Gemini Pro picks up a strong ace of spades, 10 of diamonds, while Gemini Flash will have to work with the queen of spades and 7 of clubs.
I have the ace of spades and 10 of diamonds, which is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. I will open with a standard raise to 2 big blinds to take the initiative and build the pot.
I'm holding the queen of spades and 7 of clubs in the big blind. Since the opponent made a small raise, I have very good pot odds to call and see a flop. This hand is strong enough to defend my position in a heads-up game.
The flop falls 8 of diamonds, 10 of hearts, and 4 of spades. Gemini Pro hits top pair with that 10, and Gemini Flash is left looking at queen high.
I have missed the flop entirely with my queen of spades and 7 of clubs. On this board of 8 of diamonds, 10 of hearts, and 4 of spades, I should check to the preflop raiser and see how they react before committing more chips.
I flop top pair with an ace kicker using my 10 of diamonds and ace of spades. Since my opponent checked on this relatively safe board, I will make a standard continuation bet to build the pot and extract value.
I have only queen high with the queen of spades and 7 of clubs. The board of 8 of diamonds, 10 of hearts, and 4 of spades does not connect with my hand, and I lack sufficient equity or a strong draw to continue against a half-pot bet.
Gemini Flash makes the disciplined fold with high card. Gemini Pro takes it down early, showing the power of that flopped 1 pair. Next hand.
Ace 4 of hearts is a strong starting hand head-to-head. I will raise from the button to take the initiative and build the pot with a hand that has great potential to make the nut flush.
I'm holding the king of hearts and the 8 of diamonds in the big blind. Since the opponent made a small raise from the button, I am getting very good pot odds to see a flop. This hand is strong enough to defend against a wide button opening range.
The flop comes down ace of spades, 5 of diamonds, and the queen of hearts. That is a very coordinated board that will likely favor Gemini Pro's opening range.
The board shows an ace of spades, a 5 of diamonds, and a queen of hearts, which fits the pre-flop raiser's range better than mine. I have king high and no direct draw, so checking to the opponent is the standard play to see how they proceed.
I flop top pair with an ace, though my kicker is weak. I will make a small continuation bet to extract value from weaker pairs like a queen and maintain my preflop initiative.
I have king high on a board featuring an ace of spades and a queen of hearts, which heavily favors the pre-flop raiser's range. I have very little equity and no reliable draws, so folding against this bet is the most prudent play to conserve my chips.
Gemini Flash decides there is no point in continuing and folds. Gemini Pro takes it down with 1 pair. Next hand.
King 8 suited is a strong starting hand heads up on the button. I am opening with a standard raise to take control of the pot and potentially steal the blinds immediately.
I have the 6 of clubs and 4 of clubs, which is a playable suited hand for defending the big blind. The opponent made a small raise, giving me excellent pot odds to call one more big blind and see the flop while maintaining a healthy stack size.
The flop comes down 9 of clubs, 7 of diamonds, and the 4 of hearts. Gemini Flash finds bottom pair and a gutshot straight draw on the scattered board.
I have bottom pair with my 4 of clubs on a 9-7-4 rainbow board. This is a marginal hand that is best played by checking to the preflop raiser to control the size of the pot and see how they choose to act.
I completely miss the flop, and a board of 9, 7, and 4 connects well with the big blind's defending range. Checking back is the safest play with king high to control the pot size.
The turn is the jack of diamonds, potentially helping Gemini Pro's range, although they are still looking for a king or an 8 to take the lead.
I still have bottom pair with my 4 of clubs on a board that now includes a jack, 9, and 7. Since both of us checked on the flop, the pot remains small, and checking again is the best way to realize my equity and reach a cheap showdown.
Since the big blind checked twice, they are showing considerable weakness. I picked up a gutshot straight draw with my 8, making this an excellent opportunity for a delayed continuation bet to steal the pot.
I have bottom pair with my 4 of clubs. Since we both checked the flop, the opponent's betting range is quite wide, and I have enough equity to call a single bet to see the river card and potentially improve or reach a showdown.
The river is the 7 of clubs, pairing the board and giving Gemini Flash a 2 pair. Gemini Pro's missed straight draw is now purely a bluffing candidate.
The pair of 7s on the board has counterfeited my pair of 4s, leaving me with only a pair of 7s and a 6 kicker. This hand has very little value now, so I will check and see if the opponent is willing to go to a cheap showdown.
My straight draw completely missed, leaving me with only king high. Since the big blind called my bet on the turn, they likely hold a pair or better, making a river bluff too risky. Checking behind is the best choice to limit my losses.
Gemini Flash drags the pot with 2 pair, while Gemini Pro's king high only manages 1 pair with the board. A disciplined check from both sides on that river. Next hand, Gemini Flash has found the dream scenario with the ace of hearts and the ace of spades, while Gemini Pro looks to make a move with Jack Queen of diamonds.
I have been dealt the strongest possible starting hand with the ace of hearts and the ace of spades. I am raising to 3 big blinds to build the pot immediately and extract maximum value from my opponent while maintaining a strong range for the rest of the hand.
I have Queen Jack suited, which is a strong hand to defend from the big blind. Calling against a 3 big blind raise keeps the pot manageable and allows me to play well post-flop with excellent potential to make strong pairs, straights, or flushes.
The flop comes down 10 of diamonds, 5 of hearts, and 3 of spades. It is a very dry board that leaves Gemini Flash's pocket aces in a dominant position.
I missed the flop completely, though I do have 2 overcards and some backdoor flush and straight possibilities. Checking to the preflop raiser is the standard play to see how they proceed.
I have the best possible overpair with the ace of hearts and the ace of spades on a relatively dry board featuring a 10 of diamonds, a 5 of hearts, and a 3 of spades. Since the opponent checked, I am making a continuation bet to build value and protect my equity.
I completely missed the flop, having only overcards and a weak backdoor flush draw. Since I am out of position against a continuation bet on a very disconnected board, folding is the most disciplined choice to preserve my stack.
Gemini Pro makes a disciplined fold with just high card, and Gemini Flash scoops the pot, easily showing down 1 pair of aces. Next hand, Gemini Pro starts us off with a raise from the button.
8-7 offsuit is a perfectly fine hand to open from the button in a heads-up game. I am raising to 2 big blinds to take the initiative and play in position.
I have a 6 of hearts and a 5 of diamonds. The price to see a flop is very good given the small raise from the button. I will call to realize my equity and see if I can hit a straight or 2 pair on the community cards.
The flop comes down 2 of spades, queen of clubs, and 10 of hearts. It is a fairly dry board, and both players seem content to take it slow.
I have completely missed the flop with my 6 of hearts and 5 of diamonds. Since the board contains a queen and a 10, it is more likely to have helped the opponent who raised before the flop. I will check and wait to see their move.
I have 8 high with no direct draw on this queen 10-2 board. Bluffing here with 0 equity is not ideal, as the flop connects reasonably well with the opponent's defending range. I will check behind to see a free turn card.
The turn is the queen of diamonds, doubling up the ladies on board. Action remains passive as both players check again.
I have 6 high and the turn brought a second queen. Since the flop went check-check, neither player has shown much strength yet. I will continue to check my 6 of hearts and 5 of diamonds as I have no showdown value and no draw.
I have 8 high with absolutely no draws on this paired board. Although the opponent has shown weakness by checking twice, bluffing with 0 equity is risky. I will check again and likely give up.
The river is the 6 of spades. That card actually gives Gemini Flash the best hand right at the finish line.
I have caught a pair of 6s on the river. The board has a pair of queens, and since the action has been very passive on the flop and turn, my hand might be good. I will check to see a cheap showdown and hope my small pair holds up.
My 8 high has no showdown value, but my passive play on the flop and turn makes a river bluff unconvincing. The opponent could easily call with ace high or a weak pair, so I will check and concede this small pot.
Gemini Flash wins it. They take down the pot with 2 pair, while Gemini Pro's 1 pair of queens just wasn't enough to secure the win here. Next hand, Gemini Flash is dealt the powerhouse ace of spades, king of spades, and will be looking to play a big pot.
I'm holding the ace of spades and the king of spades, which is one of the strongest hands in heads-up play. Raising from the button allows me to build the pot early and put pressure on the big blind while I have the advantage of position throughout the hand.
Facing a standard preflop raise from the button, Queen-Jack offsuit is a solid hand to defend my big blind with. Calling allows me to see a flop without inflating the pot out of position.
The flop is 3 of clubs, 7 of clubs, and the 2 of diamonds. That is about as dry as it gets, completely missing the Broadway cards for both of our competitors.
I completely missed this low flop, holding only a queen and a jack. Since I am out of position against the preflop raiser, checking is the standard play to see what my opponent does.
I have ace of spades and king of spades, giving me 2 strong overcards on this low board. Since my opponent checked, I am making a continuation bet to maintain my aggression and take down the pot or force a fold from their weaker hands.
With only queen high and no viable draws on a low board showing 2 clubs, my hand has very little equity. Facing a continuation bet, the best decision is to simply fold and wait for a better spot.
Gemini Flash maintains the pressure with a continuation bet, and Gemini Pro decides that queen high is not enough to continue. Gemini Flash takes it down with high card. Next hand,
I have pocket fives on the button. This is a solid starting hand, so I will make a standard opening raise to take control of the pot.
I have an ace of spades and a 3 of hearts in the big blind. Since the small blind made a minimum raise to 2 big blinds, I am getting great pot odds to call and see a flop with an ace-high hand in a heads-up match.
the flop falls jack of hearts, ace of hearts, 3 of spades. Gemini Flash has smashed this board with 2 pair, aces, and 3s, putting Gemini Pro in a world of hurt.
I have flopped a strong 2-pair with an ace of spades and a 3 of hearts on a board featuring the jack of hearts, ace of hearts, and 3 of spades. I will check to the pre-flop aggressor to see if they will continue betting, allowing me to trap them or check raise for value.
I have pocket fives, but the board has an ace and a jack. Since my hand is weak and vulnerable, checking behind is the best way to control the pot size and safely see the turn card.
The turn is the 5 of diamonds, and we have a complete shift in power. Gemini Pro spikes a set of 5s to vault into the lead, while Gemini Flash still thinks his 2-pair is good.
I have top and bottom 2-pair with an ace of spades and a 3 of hearts. After the flop was checked around, I will now lead with a bet for value, targeting hands like a jack, a weaker ace, or heart flush draws.
I just turned a set of fives on a board with an ace and a jack. Since my opponent is leading out with a bet, they likely have a strong top pair or 2-pair, so I will raise to extract maximum value.
There's the raise from Gemini Pro. He is looking to get maximum value from those 5s, and Gemini Flash is in a very dangerous spot here.
I have 2-pair with an ace of spades and a 3 of hearts. My opponent raised my turn bet, which could represent a stronger hand like ace-jack or a heart flush draw. Calling allows me to see the river and keep their potential bluffs in the pot.
The river is the jack of diamonds, pairing the board. This is a nightmare for Gemini Flash as it counterfeits his 3, while Gemini Pro has improved to a full house.
The jack of diamonds on the river has counterfeited my lower 2-pair. My best hand is now 2-pair, aces, and jacks, with a 5 kicker from the board. Since any ace with a kicker higher than a 5 now beats me, checking is the safest play to see how my opponent reacts.
The river paired the jack, upgrading my hand to a full house, 5s full of jacks. Since my opponent checked to me, I will make a strong value bet. They are very likely to call with an ace or a jack, allowing me to extract maximum chips.
The second jack on the river has counterfeited my lower two pair, leaving me with aces and jacks and a 5 kicker. Because my opponent raised on the turn and continues to bet, it is highly likely they hold a stronger ace or even 3 of a kind jacks, so I must fold.
Gemini Pro takes it down. He finishes with a full house, and although Gemini Flash had 2 pair, the counterfeited board made the fold a necessary, albeit painful, decision. Next hand.
I am holding the Queen of Hearts and 6 of clubs on the button. This hand is strong enough to open for a raise in heads-up play, allowing me to take control of the pot and utilize my positional advantage against the big blind.
I hold 8-9 suited, which has excellent post-flop playability. Facing a standard button raise, defending my big blind by calling is a solid and profitable decision to see the flop.
The flop brings the 4 of spades, 8 of hearts, and the 10 of hearts. Gemini Pro hits a piece of this with middle pair, while Gemini Flash is looking at queen high with some backdoor potential.
I flopped middle pair with some backdoor draw potential. Being out of position against the preflop raiser, checking is the standard approach to control the size of the pot and evaluate their next move.
I have the Queen of Hearts and 6 of clubs on a board featuring the 10 of hearts, 8 of hearts, and 4 of spades. Since I have an overcard and a backdoor flush draw, checking back allows me to see a free turn card and control the pot size.
The 5 of diamonds rolls off on the turn. After both players check the flop, we'll see if anyone wants to take a stab at this pot now.
Since the opponent checked behind on the flop, they likely have a marginal hand. I have middle pair with my 8, so betting now helps protect my equity against overcards and extracts value from various draws.
I have the Queen of Hearts and 6 of clubs, providing a gut shot straight draw requiring a 7. Facing a half-pot bet with only queen high and limited equity, it is more mathematically sound to fold here and wait for a better opportunity.
Gemini Pro takes it down with a well-timed turn bet. Gemini Flash couldn't improve their high card and folds to the 1 pair of Gemini Pro. Next hand. Gemini Pro has the button with 10 of hearts, 6 of hearts, while Gemini Flash looks down at 7 of diamonds, 6 of spades.
10-6 of hearts is a perfectly playable hand from the button in a heads-up match. I will make a standard minimum raise to take control of the hand and apply early pressure on my opponent.
I have a 7 of diamonds and a 6 of spades in the big blind. Since the opponent made a small raise to 2 big blinds, I am getting very good pot odds to call and see the flop. I will defend my blind with this speculative hand.
The flop falls 8 of diamonds, 3 of spades, and the king of diamonds. A very dry texture here, though Gemini Flash has a backdoor diamond draw to work with.
I have missed the flop completely with my 7 of diamonds and 6 of spades. On this king-high board, the standard play is to check to the preflop raiser and see how they choose to act before deciding my next move.
I have 10 high with absolutely no draws on a king-high board. Since I completely missed and do not even have a backdoor flush draw, checking behind to give up or see a free turn card is the most sensible play.
The turn pairs the board with the 3 of diamonds. It also brings a flush draw for Gemini Flash, which might make things interesting if either player decides to represent the king.
I have a 7-high flush draw with my 7 of diamonds and the 3 diamonds on the board. Since the opponent checked behind on the flop, I will check again to see a free river card and try to complete my flush or simply reach showdown with my current high card.
I still have just 10 high with no draws. My opponent checked again, but bluffing here with 0 equity on a paired and flush completing board is too risky. I will check and take a free river card.
The river is the Jack of Hearts. The flush draw misses, and both players are looking at a very weak showdown unless someone decides to pull the trigger.
I have 7 high with the 7 of diamonds and 6 of spades. I missed my flush draw and have no showdown value. Since the action has been checked all the way since the flop, I will check again and hope to see a showdown, but I will likely fold if the opponent bets.
With only 10 high, I have absolutely no chance of winning at showdown. Since my opponent has checked on every single street, they likely hold a weak hand or a missed draw, so I will bluff to fold out ace high and steal the pot.
Gemini Pro fires out a 3 big blind bet. This is a pure bluff with 10 high, sensing that Gemini Flash is capped after all those checks.
I have 7 high with the 7 of diamonds and 6 of spades, meaning I have missed my flush draw completely. Since I have no showdown value and cannot win against any bet, folding is the only logical choice in this situation.
Gemini Pro successfully steals the pot with that river bluff. Both players technically held one pair of threes using the board, but Gemini Pro's 10 high was enough to force the fold from 7 high. Next hand, Gemini Pro has the dealer button as we get underway.
Queen 9 offsuit is a standard opening hand from the button in heads-up play. I will make a standard raise to 2 big blinds to take the initiative and pressure my opponent before the flop.
I have the 7 of hearts and 6 of diamonds in the big blind. Since the opponent made a small raise to only 2 big blinds, I am getting excellent pot odds to defend my blind and see a flop with this hand.
The flop brings the 7 of clubs, 3 of hearts, and the king of diamonds. Gemini Flash finds a piece of this with middle pair, though the king is an imposing overcard.
I have hit middle pair with my 7 of hearts and 6 of diamonds on a board of 7 of clubs, 3 of hearts, and king of diamonds. This is a marginal made hand, so checking is the best approach to control the size of the pot and see how the opponent acts.
My opponent checked to me on a dry king-high flop. As the preflop raiser, I have a strong range advantage. A small continuation bet is a great way to apply pressure and win the pot right here, even holding just queen-high.
I have middle pair with a 7 of hearts and 6 of diamonds on a board of 7 of clubs, 3 of hearts, and king of diamonds. Given the small size of the opponent's bet, I have the correct price to call and continue to the turn to see if my hand improves or holds up.
The turn is the Jack of Spades. Gemini Pro adds a gut shot straight draw to that queen high, but will we see more aggression?
I have middle pair with my 7 of hearts and 6 of diamonds on a board of 7 of clubs, 3 of hearts, king of diamonds, and jack of spades. The jack is another overcard that likely improves the opponent's range, so I will check to control the pot size.
The jack on the turn gives me a gut shot straight draw. Checking behind is a solid play here, allowing me to take a free card to potentially hit the nuts while controlling the size of the pot.
The 4 of clubs on the river is a total brick. It is up to Gemini Flash once again.
I have a pair of 7s with my 7 of hearts and 6 of diamonds. The board shows the 7 of clubs, 3 of hearts, king of diamonds, jack of spades, and 4 of clubs. Since the opponent checked back the turn, I have decent showdown value and will check to get to the end of the hand cheaply.
With only queen high, I have absolutely no showdown value. Since my opponent has checked both the turn and the river showing significant weakness, firing a bluff here is the best way to fold out their marginal pairs and ace-high hands.
Gemini Pro is firing a massive bluff on the river. This is a high-pressure spot for Gemini Flash's pair of 7s.
I have a pair of 7s with my 7 of hearts and 6 of diamonds. The board shows a king of diamonds and a jack of spades, but the opponent checked the turn, suggesting they might not have a monster hand. I'm calling this river bet because my pair serves as a decent bluff catcher against missed draws.
Gemini Flash makes the call, and it is the right one. Gemini Flash had one pair, which holds up against the high card of Gemini Pro, What a fantastic hero call. Next hand, we see a king-queen for Gemini Flash, while Gemini Pro starts with 9-8 of diamonds.
9-8 suited is a highly playable hand from the button in heads-up play. I am raising to take control of the action and build the pot early. This allows me to keep the initiative and put pressure on the big blind from the start.
I have a strong hand with king of diamonds and queen of clubs. Since I am in the big blind facing a small blind raise, I will 3-bet to 6 big blinds to take control of the pot and put pressure on my opponent's wide opening range.
A strong 3-bet from the big blind here. Gemini Flash is clearly looking to protect their equity against the button open.
My opponent made a 3-bet, but 9-8 of diamonds is a great hand to call within position. Suited connectors play very well post-flop, giving us plenty of opportunities to hit strong draws and outmaneuver our opponent.
The flop comes down 4 of clubs, ace of hearts, and 4 of spades. This board texture heavily favors Gemini Flash, especially with that ace landing in a 3-bet pot.
I am the 3-bet aggressor, and this ace-high paired board is very favorable for my perceived range. I will place a small continuation bet of 4 big blinds to maintain pressure and force folds from weaker hands that missed the flop entirely.
The flop brings an ace and a pair of 4s, completely missing my 9-8 of diamonds. Facing a continuation bet in a 3-bet pot with no pair and no direct draws, folding is the only sensible decision.
Gemini Pro finds the fold button, and Gemini Flash takes it down. Both players finished with 1 pair, but Gemini Flash wins it with the better kicker on that paired board. Next hand.
Jack-9 offsuit is a perfectly reasonable hand to open from the button in heads-up play. I will make a standard raise to 2 big blinds to take control of the hand and put pressure on the big blind.
I have ace of spades and 8 of clubs in the big blind. Against a standard button raise, this hand is well within the defending range and has strong high card value. Calling allows me to see a flop and realize my equity without overinflating the pot out of position.
The flop falls 7 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, and the 2 of spades. It is a very uncoordinated board, which is exactly what Gemini Flash wants to see with an ace-high lead.
I have ace of spades and 8 of clubs on a board of 7 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, and 2 of spades. This texture does not strongly favor my range, so checking is the standard play to gauge the opponent's strength while maintaining pot control with my ace-high.
I completely missed this dry flop, having only jack-high and no direct draws. The board of 7-6-2 connects well with the big blind defending range, so checking back to control the pot and see a free turn is the best approach.
The turn is the king of clubs. That is a major scare card that should favor the pre-flop aggressor, Gemini Pro.
The turn brought a king of clubs, which is a card that often favors the preflop raiser's range. Since I only have ace of spades and 8 of clubs and the flop was checked through, checking again is the most prudent way to control the pot size.
The opponent has checked twice, showing significant weakness. The king on the turn strongly favors my preflop raising range, so I will make a half-pot bluff to force out their weak pairs and ace-high hands.
I have ace of spades and 8 of clubs. The king of clubs on the turn is a scare card, but since the flop was checked through, the opponent may be bluffing or betting a marginal hand. I will call the half-pot bet to see the river with my ace-high showdown value.
Gemini Pro tries to buy it with a bet, but Gemini Flash makes a disciplined call with ace-high. We go to the river. The river is the 2 of diamonds, pairing the board and changing very little for Gemini Pro's jack-high.
I have ace of spades and 8 of clubs on a final board of 7 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, 2 of spades, king of clubs, and 2 of diamonds. My ace-high has decent showdown value against missed draws, so I will check to potentially reach a cheap showdown or react to the opponent's lead.
With only jack-high, I have 0 showdown value. The opponent's turn call indicates they likely hold a pair or a strong draw. The river too changes nothing, and attempting another bluff here is too risky, so I will check and concede.
Gemini Flash takes it down. Both players ended with 1 pair using the 2s on the board, but that ace of spades kicker is the difference maker here. Next hand, Gemini Flash looks down at Ace-Jack suited, while Gemini Pro wakes up with a solid pair of sevens.
I'm holding the ace of hearts and the jack of spades, which is a very strong hand in heads-up play. From the button, I will raise to 3 big blinds to build the pot and take control of the hand while I have the positional advantage.
I hold pocket sevens, which is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. Calling against a 3 big blind raise keeps the pot size manageable and allows me to evaluate the flop while keeping my opponent's weaker opening hands in the pot.
The flop comes down 9 of spades, 6 of hearts, 5 of spades. Gemini Pro is still in the lead with those sevens, but there are plenty of draws out there.
I have pocket sevens, which gives me middle pair and a gut shot straight draw on this 9-high flop. Checking to the preflop raiser is the standard line, allowing me to see if they make a continuation bet before I commit more chips.
I hold the ace of hearts and the jack of spades. Although the flop of 9 of spades, 6 of hearts, and 5 of spades did not directly pair my cards, I still have 2 overcards in the betting lead. Since my opponent checked, I will make a small continuation bet to try and take the pot now.
Facing a small continuation bet, calling with my pocket sevens is the best choice. I have second pair and a gut shot straight draw, giving me plenty of equity to continue and reevaluate on the turn.
The turn is the king of spades. That is a huge scare card that completes the spade flush and puts an overcard to those sevens on the board.
The turn brings the king of spades, which completes a possible flush and hits my opponent's range hard. Since my pocket sevens have now become a weaker pair, checking is the safest play to see their action.
I have the ace of hearts and the jack of spades on a board with 3 spades. Since I have the jack of spades, I have a draw to a flush. I will check back to see a free river card and realize my equity or potentially win with ace high at showdown.
The 5 of diamonds pairs the board on the river. Both players have been very careful since that king arrived.
The river pairs the 5. My pocket sevens have decent showdown value since my opponent checked behind on the turn, showing weakness. I will check to keep the pot small and hopefully catch a bluff from a missed draw.
I hold the ace of hearts and the jack of spades. With the board pairing 5s and my opponent checking for a 3rd time, my ace high has decent showdown value against missed draws. There is no need to bet and risk a check raise when I can take the free showdown.
Gemini Pro takes it down with 2 pair, 7s, and 5s. Gemini flashes 1 pair of 5s with an ace kicker, just wasn't enough to get the job done here. Next hand,
I have the 6 of hearts and 7 of hearts, which is a strong suited connector in heads-up play. Raising from the button allows me to take control of the hand and build a pot with a hand that has great potential to make a straight or a flush.
Ace 4 of hearts is a solid suited ace that plays very well post-flop. Calling the pre-flop raise from the big blind is the standard approach, allowing me to see the flop and realize my equity without building too large a pot out of position.
the flop brings the queen of spades, 9 of diamonds, and the king of spades. That is a very heavy Broadway board that should demand some respect.
The king, queen, 9 flop heavily favors the pre-flop raiser's range. Since I only have ace high with no straight or flush draws, checking to my opponent is the safest and most standard play.
The flop of queen of spades, 9 of diamonds, and king of spades does not improve my 6 of hearts and 7 of hearts. Since the opponent checked, I will take the free card to see if the turn improves my hand or provides a better bluffing opportunity while keeping the pot small.
The turn is the 3 of diamonds. It's a complete brick for both players, and we see the pot control continue.
Since the flop checked through, my opponent might be weak, but I still only have ace high with no draws on a coordinated board. Checking is the most sensible play to control the pot size and gather more information.
The 3 of diamonds on the turn does not help my 6 of hearts and 7 of hearts. Since the board contains multiple high cards like the king and queen that often connect with the big blind's range, and I have no draws, I will check behind to see a free river card.
The river is the 2 of clubs. This board was very unfriendly to our competitors today, and we're heading to a showdown with some very thin holdings.
With the action checking through on both the flop and the turn, my ace-high might actually be the best hand against miss straight and flush draws. Betting would only get called by a pair or better, so checking to see a free showdown is the smartest play.
I have 7 high with the 7 of hearts and 6 of hearts, which has no showdown value. After checking the flop and turn, I cannot easily represent a strong hand. Since the opponent has also checked, I will check behind and concede the pot, avoiding a risky bluff.
Gemini Pro takes it with high card. The ace of hearts was the decider there against the high card of Gemini Flash. Next hand.
Ace-jack offsuit is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. Because I am first to act on the button, I want to raise to take control of the pot and build value right away.
I have the king of hearts and 7 of hearts in the big blind. My opponent made a small raise from the button, providing me with excellent pot odds to see a flop. This suited king has good playability and is a standard hand to defend within this position.
Gemini Pro opens for a raise with ace-jack offsuit, and Gemini Flash is going to defend the big blind with king 7 suited. We are headed to a flop. The flop falls 6 of clubs, 2 of hearts, and an ace of spades. Gemini Pro finds top pair immediately, leaving Gemini Flash in a very tough spot.
I have the king of hearts and 7 of hearts on an ace-high board. Since I am out of position and the board favors the preflop raiser's range, I will check to see how the opponent acts while holding a backdoor flush draw.
I flop top pair with a jack kicker on a very dry board. Since my opponent checked to me, I will make a continuation bet to extract value from weaker pairs and maintain my preflop aggression.
I hold the king of hearts and 7 of hearts on a board featuring the ace of spades, 6 of clubs, and 2 of hearts. My opponent made a half-pot continuation bet. Since this board is much better for the preflop aggressor and I have no pair, I will fold my hand and wait for a better spot.
Gemini Flash makes the disciplined fold with just high card, allowing Gemini Pro to take down the pot with 1 pair. Next hand.
10-8 offsuit is a playable hand from the button in heads-up play. I will make a minimum raise to take the initiative and put pressure on the big blind.
I have the 6 of clubs and 9 of clubs, which is a solid hand to defend my big blind. The opponent's small raise gives me great pot odds to call and see a flop, where my suited cards can potentially make a strong flush or straight.
The flop falls 6 of spades, 10 of diamonds, and 4 of diamonds. Gemini Pro hits top pair, while Gemini Flash finds a middle pair on this coordinated board.
I have middle pair with my 6 of clubs on a flop of 10 of diamonds, 6 of spades, and 4 of diamonds. Since I am out of position against the preflop aggressor, checking is the standard play to control the pot size and see how the opponent acts.
I flop top pair with my 10-8. The board has a 10, 6, and 4, presenting several straight and flush draws. Since my opponent checked, betting half the pot is ideal to protect my equity and extract value from weaker pairs or drawing hands.
I have middle pair with my 6 of clubs on a board featuring the 10 of diamonds, 6 of spades, and 4 of diamonds. My opponent made a half-pot sized bet, and I have sufficient equity to continue. Calling is the best way to keep the pot small while playing out of position.
The turn is the 2 of hearts, which changes very little. Gemini Pro stays aggressive with another bet, putting the pressure on.
I have middle pair with my 6 of clubs and a 9 kicker on a board of 10 of diamonds, 6 of spades, 4 of diamonds, and 2 of hearts. I will check to the opponent to see how they react and maintain pot control with a marginal made hand.
The 2 of hearts on the turn is a complete blank, meaning my top pair with the 10 is still likely the best hand. I will continue betting to charge my opponent for any flush or straight draws and to extract value from weaker pairs.
I have middle pair with my 6 of clubs and 9 of clubs on a board of 10 of diamonds, 6 of spades, 4 of diamonds, and 2 of hearts. The opponent's bet is significant, but my pair is still strong enough to call and see if the river provides a safe card for me.
The river is the 8 of spades, a dynamic card that improves Gemini Pro to 2 pair. This is a tough spot for Gemini Flash.
I have third pair with my 6 of clubs on a board of 10 of diamonds, 6 of spades, 4 of diamonds, 2 of hearts, and 8 of spades. This hand has some showdown value against missed draws, so I will check to the opponent and hope to reach a showdown cheaply.
I improve to 2 pair on the river with the 8 of spades. Since the diamond flush draws completely missed, my hand is extremely strong. I will bet for value, aiming to get called by a single pair of tens.
A value bet of 12 into the 18-chip pot. Gemini Pro is looking to get paid off after hitting that river hard.
I have a pair of 6s on a board featuring a 10, 6, 4, 2, and 8. My opponent has bet on the flop, turn, and river, which strongly suggests they have a hand like a pair of 10s or better. I will fold because my third pair is unlikely to win against a triple barrel.
Gemini Flash makes a disciplined fold with just 1 pair. Gemini Pro takes the pot, showing the strength of that 2 pair. Next hand, both players wake up with an ace here in this heads-up battle.
I am holding an ace of diamonds and a 7 of clubs on the button. This is a strong hand for heads-up play, and I will open with a raise to 3 times the big blind to build the pot and take control of the hand early.
I hold ace-6 offsuit in the big blind facing a 3 big blind raise. In heads-up play, an ace is strong enough to defend, so I will call and evaluate the flop out of position.
The flop brings a 5 of clubs, a 5 of diamonds, and the 4 of spades. A paired board that significantly shifts the range advantage toward the preflop raiser.
With ace-high and a backdoor straight draw on a paired board of 2 5s and a 4, the standard play is to check to the preflop raiser. This allows me to evaluate their action before committing more chips.
I have ace-high with an ace of diamonds and a 7 of clubs on a board of 5 5 4. Since my opponent checked, I will place a small continuation bet of 2 big blinds to capitalize on my range advantage as the preflop raiser and put pressure on their marginal hands.
Facing a continuation bet on a paired board with only ace-high and no strong draws, my hand is too weak to continue out of position. Folding is the best choice here.
Gemini Pro decides to surrender the pot early. Gemini Flash takes it down where Gemini Flash had 1 pair and Gemini Pro had 1 pair. Next hand.
I am holding the jack of spades and 4 of spades on the button. Raising to 2.5 big blinds is a standard play to put pressure on the big blind while maintaining the advantage of position for the rest of the hand.
I hold pocket 5s in the big blind facing a standard open raise. Calling is the most profitable play, as it allows me to see a flop and potentially hit a hidden set without inflating the pot out of position.
The flop brings the 5 of diamonds, queen of diamonds, and the ace of spades. Gemini Pro hits absolute gold here, flopping a set of 5s on this extremely dangerous, high-card heavy board.
I flopped bottom set of 5s on an ace, queen, 5 board with 2 diamonds. Since this board connects perfectly with the preflop raiser's range, checking to let them continuation bet is the best way to extract maximum value.
Have the jack of spades and four of spades on a board with the five of diamonds, queen of diamonds, and ace of spades. Since I was the preflop aggressor and the opponent checked to me, I will place a small continuation bet of 1.7 big blinds to maintain initiative and pressure their range.
I have a set of fives on an ace, queen, five board with a diamond draw. Since the opponent bet, raising is the best play to build the pot against their strong top pairs and charge their drawing hands.
There is the check raise. Gemini Pro isn't slow playing the set, looking to get maximum value immediately on this wet texture.
I have the jack of spades and four of spades on a board containing the ace of spades, queen of diamonds, and five of diamonds. Since the opponent check-raised my continuation bet on this texture, my hand has very little equity to continue, and the best decision is to let it go.
Gemini Flash manages to get away with just high card, while Gemini Pro scoops the pot with three of a kind. That check raise effectively shut down the hand right then and there. Next hand.
With a suited queen and four on the button, I have a reasonable starting hand. Raising to two big blinds allows me to take the initiative and potentially win the blinds right away, while still having flush potential if my opponent calls.
I'm holding a king of clubs and seven of hearts in the big blind against a small open from the button. King-high hands have enough equity to defend against this sizing, so calling is the most efficient way to see a flop and realize my potential value.
The flop comes five of spades, nine of diamonds, and two of clubs. A very dry, disconnected board that doesn't help either player much, though Gemini Flash's king-high is currently leading.
I have king-high on a dry board consisting of the five of spades, nine of diamonds, and two of clubs. Since I am out of position and the board does not favor my range heavily, I will check to see how the opponent acts before committing more chips.
My opponent checked on a very dry flop of 5, 9, and 2. With queen-high and backdoor draws, a small continuation bet puts pressure on their overcards and often wins the pot right here.
I have king-high with the king of clubs and seven of hearts on a dry board of five of spades, nine of diamonds, and two of clubs. Given the small bet size of 1.3 big blinds, I have the right price to call and see if I can improve on the turn.
The turn is the six of clubs. This provides a gut-shot straight draw for Gemini Flash, while Gemini Pro is still searching for some equity with that queen-high.
I have picked up a gut-shot straight draw with my seven of hearts and king of clubs on a board of 5, 9, 2, and 6. I will continue to check to the aggressor to maintain a balanced range and see how the opponent chooses to proceed on this turn.
The turn card connects with my opponent's flop calling range, and my queen-high has very little equity. Checking behind allows me to control the pot size and take a free card.
Unbelievable, the river is the three of spades. Gemini Pro was behind the whole way, but that three just completed a six-high straight.
I have king-high with the king of clubs and seven of hearts on a board of 5, 9, 2, 6, and 3. Since I missed my straight draw and the turn was checked through, I will check to see if my hand has enough showdown value against potential missed draws from my opponent.
I rivered a six-high straight when the three of spades fell. Since my opponent checked to me again, I am making a solid value bet to extract chips from hands like a pair of nines or a smaller pair.
I have only king-high after missing my straight draw on a board of 5, 9, 2, 6, and 3. Given the opponent's bet of 4.5 big blinds and the fact that most of their bluffs likely include ace-high, king-high is not strong enough to call here.
Gemini Flash decides it's not worth a hero call and folds. Gemini Pro takes down the pot after rivering that straight. Great value extraction there. Next hand.
I'm holding the 10 of spades and jack of spades, which is a premium suited connector in heads-up play. Raising from the button allows me to take the initiative and build a pot with a hand that has excellent post-flop potential.
Ace-8 offsuit is a decently strong hand in a heads-up match. Facing a 3 big blind raise from the button, calling is the standard and most profitable play to see a flop.
The flop brings a queen of spades, seven of hearts, and five of hearts. A dry board, but Gemini Flash has picked up a backdoor flush draw with that jack-10 of spades.
I have ace-high with no strong draws on this queen-high board. Checking to the preflop raiser is the standard play here, allowing me to see what they decide to do.
I have the 10 of spades and jack of spades on a board featuring the queen of spades. Since I was the preflop aggressor and have a backdoor flush draw, I will place a continuation bet to maintain pressure and potentially win the pot immediately.
I have ace-high with no pair and no flush draw on a queen-high board with 2 hearts. Facing a continuation bet, folding is the most mathematically sound choice to preserve my stack.
Gemini Pro decides to fold the ace-high, allowing Gemini Flash to take it down. Both players finish with high card, but the aggression from the button wins this one. Next hand, Gemini Pro is looking at pocket sevens on the button and opens the action with a raise.
I am holding pocket sevens on the button, which is a very strong starting hand for heads-up play. I will make a standard raise to build the pot, take the initiative, and put pressure on the big blind.
I have king of clubs and eight of clubs, which is a strong hand for defending the big blind in heads-up play. Since the opponent raised to 2.5 big blinds, I will call to see a flop and utilize the playability of my suited king.
The flop brings the 10 of clubs, 9 of spades, and 3 of diamonds. It is a relatively dry board that keeps Gemini Pro's pocket sevens in the lead for now.
I am checking to the original raiser with my king of clubs and eight of clubs. While I have an overcard and some backdoor draws on this board of 10 of clubs, 9 of spades, and 3 of diamonds, it is standard to let the button act first.
I have pocket sevens, which gives me third pair on a 10, 9, 3 board. Because my hand has marginal showdown value but is vulnerable to overcards, checking behind is the best play to control the pot size.
The turn is the 2 of diamonds, a total blank that doesn't change the equity much after both players check the flop.
Since both of us checked on the flop, the pot remains at 5 big blinds. I hold king of clubs and eight of clubs on a board of 10 of clubs, 9 of spades, 3 of diamonds, and 2 of diamonds. I will check again to control the pot size and see the river card.
The opponent has checked twice, suggesting weakness. I will make a half-pot bet with my pocket sevens to protect against overcards and extract value from ace-highs or weaker draws.
I'm folding my king of clubs and eight of clubs because I have missed the board entirely and have no significant draw. The opponent's bet on the turn, after checking the flop, suggests they may have a marginal pair or better, making a call with king high-low in expected value.
Gemini Flash decides to let it go with the high card. Gemini Pro takes it down with 1 pair of sevens, showing great patience and a well-timed turn bet. Next hand,
I have the king of clubs and 9 of hearts on the button, which is a strong starting hand in heads-up play. I will raise to 3 big blinds to take control of the hand and build the pot while I have the advantage of being in position.
Queen-Jack offsuit is a perfectly reasonable hand to defend from the big blind against a standard button raise. It has good playability post-flop and decent equity, making a call the most profitable play.
the flop comes down king of hearts, 5 of spades, and ace of diamonds. Gemini Flash finds middle pair here, but that ace is a major range advantage for the pre-flop aggressor.
I completely missed this board containing an ace and a king, though I picked up a gutshot straight draw. Because this texture heavily favors the preflop raiser's range, the standard play is to check to the aggressor.
I have a pair of kings on a board containing an ace of diamonds and a king of hearts. Since I have second pair with a 9 kicker, checking back allows me to control the size of the pot and realize my showdown value against the opponent in the big blind.
A blank 2 of clubs on the turn. Both players seem content to play a small pot as Gemini Pro checks again.
The turn brings a blank 2 of clubs, and I still only have queen high with a gutshot straight draw. Since the flop checked through, I will continue to check and evaluate my opponent's action.
I have a pair of kings with a 9 of hearts kicker on a board of king of hearts, 5 of spades, ace of diamonds, and two of clubs. Since my opponent has checked for the second time, I will check behind to keep the pot small and realize my showdown value with second pair.
The board pairs on the river with the ace of spades. This strengthens Gemini Flash's hand significantly as we head to the final action.
I have only queen high and no real showdown value. After both of us checked the flop in turn, the board paired the ace on the river. There is no compelling reason to attempt a bluff in this small pot, so checking is the best option.
I have two pair, kings and aces, with a nine of hearts kicker on this final board. Since my opponent has checked on every street, it is highly likely that my hand is the best, and checking back ensures I win the pot while avoiding any surprise check raises.
Gemini Flash takes it down, a very measured hand where Gemini Flash had two pair and Gemini Pro had one pair. That king of clubs really did the heavy lifting. Next hand, we are looking at a virtual mirror match here as Gemini Flash holds the jack of hearts, 10 of hearts, while Gemini Pro has the jack of clubs, 10 of clubs.
I have the jack of hearts and 10 of hearts on the button, which is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. I am making a standard 3 big blind raise to take control of the pot and leverage my positional advantage for the remainder of the hand.
Jack 10 of clubs is a strong, connected suited hand that plays excellently after the flop. Calling the raise from the big blind is the standard play to see a flop and realize my equity.
The flop brings a pair of nines and a king of hearts. This is a very dry, paired board texture that usually favors the preflop aggressor.
I completely missed the flop, holding only jack high with weak backdoor draws. Out of position against the preflop raiser on a paired board with a king, checking is the standard and safest play.
I'm placing a small continuation bet of 2 big blinds. Even though the board is paired, I have a gut shot straight draw and a backdoor heart draw, and this bet helps me maintain the initiative as the preflop aggressor.
I completely missed this 9-9 king flop with my 10 jack of clubs. Facing a continuation bet with only jack high and weak backdoor draws, folding is the only sensible choice.
Gemini Pro decides it is not worth the price to see a turn and folds. Gemini Flash takes down the pot, with both players technically holding one pair of nines at the finish. Next hand, Gemini Pro has the button and opens the action.
I have jack 8 offsuit on the button. This is a marginal hand, but in heads-up play, it is strong enough to attempt a minimum raise to steal the blinds. I will simply fold if my opponent plays back aggressively.
I am holding a 7 of spades and a 5 of hearts in the big blind. The opponent has raised to 2 big blinds, which gives me very favorable pot odds to call and see a flop. This hand is strong enough to defend in a heads-up situation.
The flop falls 8 of hearts, 4 of spades, and 2 of spades. Gemini Pro finds top pair, while Gemini Flash picks up a gut shot straight draw and some backdoor spade potential.
I have a 7 of spades and a 5 of hearts on a board of 8 of hearts, 4 of spades, and 2 of spades, giving me a gut shot straight draw. Checking to the preflop aggressor is the standard play here to see how they react to this low board.
I hit top pair with a jack kicker on an 8-high flop with a flush draw. Since my opponent checked, a half-pot continuation bet is the best play to extract value from smaller pairs and flush draws while protecting my hand against overcards.
I have a gut shot straight draw with my 7 of spades and 5 of hearts on this 8 of hearts, 4 of spades, and 2 of spades board. Given the small bet size from my opponent, I have the necessary pot odds to call and see if the turn brings a 6 or a spade.
The turn is the 8 of clubs, pairing the top card. Gemini Pro has just improved to 3 of a kind and is in a dominant position.
The 8 of clubs on the turn pairs the board, which often favors my range. However, with only a gut shot straight draw and 7 high, checking is the most appropriate play to see how the opponent acts before deciding whether to continue.
I made 3 of a kind on the turn when the second 8 appeared. My opponent checked again, so I will make a value bet to charge spade flush draws and extract chips from middle pairs or lower pocket pairs.
I have 7 high and a gut shot straight draw on a board of 8 of hearts, 4 of spades, 2 of spades, and 8 of clubs. My opponent's bet is too large to justify chasing a 4-outer, as I do not have the right price to continue.
Gemini Pro takes it down. A well-timed turn card gives them 3 of a kind, and Gemini Flash wisely folds their 1 pair to the pressure. Next hand, Gemini Flash is on the button and looking to keep the pressure on.
I'm holding the Jack of diamonds and 8 of hearts on the button. In heads-up play, this hand is strong enough to open for a raise, so I will make it 2.5 big blinds to take the initiative and put pressure on the big blind.
I have ace-6 of hearts, which plays very well after the flop. Defending my big blind by calling the opponent's raise is a solid, profitable choice that allows me to realize my equity without building the pot too early.
The flop brings a queen of clubs, 7 of hearts, and 3 of spades. It is a very dry, uncoordinated board texture that likely misses both players' ranges.
With ace high and only a backdoor flush draw on a dry board, checking to the preflop raiser is the standard approach out of position. This lets me see their action before deciding how to proceed.
I have Jack of diamonds and 8 of hearts on a dry board featuring a queen of clubs, 7 of hearts, and 3 of spades. Since the big blind checked to me, I will fire a continuation bet of 2 big blinds to maintain my aggression and attempt to take the pot down immediately.
Facing a small continuation bet on a dry board, my ace high with only a backdoor flush draw is not strong enough to continue. Folding is the safest and most disciplined play here.
Gemini Pro folds the best hand. Gemini Flash takes it down with a Jack-high card, proving that aggression on a dry board often pays off. Next hand, Gemini Flash finds ace-10 on the button and starts the action with a 3-bet.
I hold ace of hearts and 10 of diamonds on the button. This is a strong hand in heads-up play, and I want to open with a raise to build the pot and exert pressure while I have the positional advantage throughout the rest of the hand.
I have king-queen offsuit, which is a strong starting hand for heads-up play. Facing a 3 big blind raise, calling is a solid option to defend my blind, keep the pot size manageable, and see how the flop develops.
The flop is 5 of spades, Jack of spades, 9 of clubs. It is a scattered board that offers a gut shot to Gemini Pro, while Gemini Flash maintains the lead with ace-high.
I flopped a gut shot straight draw with my king-queen offsuit on a jack-high board. Being out of position against the preflop raiser, the standard play is to check. This allows me to control the pot size and evaluate my opponent's continuation bet.
I have ace of hearts and 10 of diamonds on a board of 5 of spades, Jack of spades, and 9 of clubs. Since the board texture favors the big blind's range and I have some showdown value with ace-high, I will check back to keep the pot small and see a free turn card.
The turn is the 6 of diamonds. This does not help much, but with the flop going check-check, the range for both players is wide open here.
Since my opponent checked back on the flop, their range appears quite weak. I am betting with my king and queen overcards and a gut shot straight draw to apply pressure, aiming to fold out better high cards and take down the pot.
I have ace of hearts and 10 of diamonds, giving me only ace-high on a board of Jack of spades, 9 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, and 5 of spades. My opponent is leading into me after a checked flop, and since this board connects well with their range, I will fold.
Gemini Pro takes it down with high card. A solid semi-bluff on the turn was all it took to push Gemini Flash off the best hand. Next hand,
10-9 offsuit is a highly playable hand from the button. Opening with a standard raise to 2 big blinds allows me to take the initiative and play in position post-flop with decent straight possibilities.
I have the queen of diamonds and 7 of diamonds in the big blind. Since the button opened with a small raise to 2 big blinds, I have the right price to call and see a flop. This hand plays well post-flop, and calling is a standard defensive play.
The flop brings a monotone texture with the 5, ace, and queen of spades. Gemini Flash hits middle pair with the queen of diamonds, but those 3 spades are a major concern.
I have middle pair with my queen of diamonds on a board that features 3 spades and an ace. Checking is the best play here to see how my opponent reacts to this dangerous board texture while keeping the pot manageable with a marginal hand.
I hold the 9 of diamonds and the 10 of spades, giving me a 10-high flush draw. Since I raised pre-flop, this ace-high board strongly favors my range. Betting small applies pressure and works well as a semi-bluff.
I have middle pair with my queen of diamonds on a board showing the ace of spades, 5 of spades, and queen of spades. While the board is dangerous with 3 spades, the opponent's bet size is small, making it a profitable call to see the turn card.
A 4th spade arrives with the 4 of spades. Gemini Pro has just turned a 10-high flush, leaving Gemini Flash's 1 pair completely dead.
I have a pair of queens with no spade on a board that now contains 4 spades. This makes my hand extremely weak against any spade in the opponent's range. I will check to keep the pot small and see if the opponent decides to bet.
With 4 spades now on the board, my 10-high flush is strong but vulnerable to the king or jack of spades. Checking back controls the pot size and allows me to safely evaluate the river.
The river is the king of diamonds, a scary board for anyone without a high spade. Let's see if Gemini Pro goes for a value bet.
The board has 4 spades and both an ace and a king are present. My pair of queens with no spade is very weak in this situation. I will check and most likely fold if the opponent makes a bet, as any spade beats me.
I hold the 10 of spades, giving me a strong flush. Because my opponent checked again on the river, it is unlikely they hold the king or jack of spades. I will make a half-pot value bet to target smaller flushes.
The board shows 4 spades along with an ace and a king. Since I hold the queen of diamonds and 7 of diamonds, I only have a pair of queens with no spade. My hand loses to any single spade in the opponent's range, making a fold the correct decision.
Gemini Flash makes a wise fold with 1 pair. Gemini Pro takes down the pot after hitting that 10-high flush on the turn. Next hand, Gemini Pro holds the button as we look at the whole cards.
Queen 9 offsuit is a reasonable starting hand in heads-up play when acting first from the button. I will make a standard minimum raise to seize the initiative and put pressure on the big blind.
I have a 7 of diamonds and a 9 of hearts in the big blind. Facing a small raise from the button, the pot odds are favorable enough to see a flop. This hand has some potential connectivity and is worth defending against a wide button range in a heads-up game.
The flop falls 8 of clubs, 8 of hearts, and 2 of spades. A very dry, paired board that likely misses the heart of both players' ranges.
I'm first to act on a paired board of 8 of clubs, 8 of hearts, and 2 of spades. Holding a 7 of diamonds and a 9 of hearts, I have no made hand, so checking to the preflop raiser is the standard game theory optimal play here to potentially see a cheap turn card.
The opponent checked to me on a very dry, paired board with 2 8s and a 2. Even though I only have queen high, a small continuation bet is highly profitable here to force them to fold their completely missed hands.
I have 9 high on a paired board featuring an 8 of clubs, 8 of hearts, and 2 of spades. With only a 7 of diamonds and a 9 of hearts, I lack any real equity or direct draws. Even against a small bet, folding is the most disciplined move here to avoid further losses.
Gemini Pro takes it down. Both players finished with 1 pair of 8s from the board, but Gemini Pro's queen high held the better kicker to win the pot. Next hand.
7-4 of diamonds is playable from the small blind in heads-up play. I will make a minimum raise to 2 big blinds to take the initiative and potentially steal the pot right here.
I'm holding the 9 of hearts and 6 of hearts, which is a playable suited hand from the big blind. Given the small raise size and the excellent pot odds, calling is the most consistent choice to see a flop and realize my equity against the button's wide range.
The flop falls 2 of hearts, 8 of clubs, and 3 of spades. This is a very dry texture, but Gemini Flash maintains a significant equity lead with those 2 overcards.
I am checking my 9 of hearts and 6 of hearts on this dry board of 2 of hearts, 8 of clubs, and 3 of spades. Since I have no made hand and only weak backdoor draws, checking allows me to evaluate the button's aggression while maintaining pot control.
Since I raised before the flop, I will make a continuation bet on this very dry board. Although I only hold 7 high, a small bet is a great way to force my opponent to fold their missed overcards and win the pot.
I'm calling with the 9 of hearts and 6 of hearts. I have a backdoor flush draw and 2 overcards on this dry board of 2, 8, and 3. The small bet size from the button provides good pot odds to see the turn and potentially improve my hand.
The turn is the 7 of clubs, and it's an action card. Gemini Pro pairs their 7 to take the lead, but Gemini Flash has just picked up an open-ended straight draw.
I have picked up an open-ended straight draw with my 9 of hearts and 6 of hearts on the 7 of clubs turn. I will check to see how the button reacts, as this allows me to control the pot size while having significant equity to improve on the river.
I turned middle pair, but my kicker is very weak, and the board now features a possible flush draw and straight connections. Checking behind keeps the pot small and allows me to see the river card for free.
The river is the 2 of diamonds, pairing the board. It looks like we are heading for a showdown.
I have missed my open-ended straight draw on the river 2 of diamonds. My 9 of hearts and 6 of hearts have no showdown value, but since the opponent checked the turn, they may have a marginal hand that is unlikely to fold. I will check and evaluate if they decide to bet.
My pair of 7s gives me 2 pair with the 2s on the board, but my kicker is very weak. Checking behind is the safest route to showdown, as I can beat missed draws and ace high without risking more chips.
Gemini Pro wins it with 2 pair, 7s, and 2s. Gemini Flash had a good run with that straight draw, but finishes with only 1 pair. Next hand. Gemini Pro opens the action with pocket 2s, and Gemini Flash will defend with the King of Hearts and 8 of clubs.
I have pocket 2s on the button. Since I am first to act, I will make a standard minimum raise to take control of the hand. Even the lowest pair has solid value heads up, and playing in position will give me an advantage.
I have the King of Hearts and the 8 of clubs in the big blind. Since the small blind raised to only 2 big blinds, I am getting a very good price to see the flop. This hand is a standard defense in game theory optimal strategies for heads-up play.
The flop comes down 4 of clubs, King of clubs, 9 of spades. Gemini Flash hits top pair here, taking a massive lead over the pocket 2s of Gemini Pro.
I have top pair with the King of Hearts and an 8 of clubs on a board featuring a King, 9, and 4. Since I am out of position, I will check to the preflop aggressor to see how they react and to keep the pot size manageable with my marginal kicker.
With pocket 2s on a king high board containing 2 clubs, my hand is extremely vulnerable. Betting is unlikely to fold out better hands, so checking behind to control the pot size and see a free turn card is the best play.
The turn is the Jack of diamonds. Both players are playing this quite tentatively as we see another check around.
I have top pair with the King of Hearts and an 8 of clubs. Since the opponent checked back on the flop, I will check again to control the pot and see how they respond to the Jack of diamonds, while also keeping their bluffs in play.
The Jack on the turn does not improve my pocket 2s, and it connects heavily with the big blind's defending range. Checking back again is the safest option to avoid inflating the pot with a weak hand.
An absolute monster of a river card, the King of spades. Gemini Flash just improved to 3 of a kind and is definitely looking for a value bet.
I have 3 of a kind with the King of Hearts and the King of spades on the board. Since the previous rounds were checked through, I will bet for value now, hoping to get paid by hands like a pair of jacks, a pair of 9s, or a mid-range pocket pair.
My pocket twos are at the absolute bottom of my range here. The opponent's river bet represents at least a pair or a bluff with a missed club draw. Since I have plenty of stronger hands to call with, folding this weak pair is the best decision.
Gemini Flash takes it down. Gemini Pro had two pair with those pocket twos, but wisely folded once Gemini Flash represented that three of a kind on the river. Next hand, Gemini Flash is looking to use that chip lead to lean on the opponent here.
I have Queen-8 of spades on the button. This is a strong suited hand that plays well post-flop, so I will make a standard raise to 2.5 big blinds to put pressure on the big blind and take control of the hand.
With Jack and 9 of clubs, I have a well-connected suited hand that plays great post-flop. Calling the preflop raise is mathematically sound and allows me to see the flop with good odds.
The flop brings a 6 of spades, Jack of hearts, and 8 of clubs. Gemini Pro hits top pair, while Gemini Flash connects with middle pair.
I flop top pair with my Jack and a 9 kicker. Since I am out of position, checking to the preflop aggressor is the standard play to control the pot size and evaluate their next move.
I have middle pair with the 8 of spades and a queen kicker on a jack-high board. Since my opponent checked to me, I am making a small continuation bet of 1.7 big blinds to protect my hand and extract value from weaker draws.
I have top pair with a 9 kicker. Facing a small continuation bet from the opponent, calling is the most profitable choice. It keeps their bluffs in the pot and allows me to reevaluate on the turn.
The turn is the 2 of hearts. This card shouldn't change much, and both players seem content to keep the pot manageable.
The 2 of hearts on the turn changes very little. I still have top pair, so checking to the opponent again is the safest approach to control the pot size and see what they decide to do.
I have middle pair with an 8 of spades and a queen kicker. Since my opponent checked again on the turn, I will check back to control the pot size and ensure I can reach a showdown with my decent but vulnerable hand.
The 4 of diamonds on the river completes the board. With top pair, Gemini Pro now decides it is time to go for a value bet.
The opponent checking behind on the turn indicates weakness. With my top pair of jacks, betting for value is the best play to extract chips from worse hands like a pair of 8s or pocket 10s.
I have middle pair with an 8 and a queen kicker on a board of jack 8, 6, 2, 4. Since I checked the turn, my opponent might be trying to bluff with missed draws like 10-9 or 7-5. Given the pot odds, my hand is strong enough to call this bet.
Gemini Pro takes it down. Gemini Pro had one pair with those jacks, while Gemini Flash's one pair of 8s just wasn't enough to drag the pot. Next hand, Gemini Flash starts us off with a raise on the button, holding the ace of spades and 10 of hearts.
I'm holding an ace and a 10 offsuit on the button, which is a very strong starting hand in heads-up poker. I will make a standard raise to 3 big blinds to build the pot and take the lead while I have the advantage of being last to act on all future rounds.
I have the ace of clubs and 10 of spades. Facing a raise from the button, this hand is plenty strong to defend. Calling allows me to see the flop and keep the pot manageable while out of position.
The flop falls 8 of diamonds, 6 of spades, and the ace of diamonds. That is top pair for both competitors, a massive cooler in the making.
I flop top pair with my ace of clubs, along with a 10 kicker. Since I am out of position and just called before the flop, it is standard to check to the aggressor and see what they do.
I have top pair with an ace of spades and a 10 of hearts on an ace-high board. Since my opponent checked to me, I will place a continuation bet of 2 big blinds to gain value from weaker pairs and draws while maintaining my aggressive lead.
I have top pair with my ace of clubs and 10 of spades. Facing a small continuation bet, calling is the most standard play. This keeps their bluffs in the pot and controls the size of the pot since we are out of position.
The turn is a 2 of spades. It's a total brick for this board texture, and Gemini Flash isn't slowing down with that top pair.
The 2 of spades on the turn is mostly a blank card. Holding top pair, checking to the preflop aggressor is the standard play. This controls the pot size and gives my opponent a chance to bluff again.
I have top pair with my ace of spades and a 10 of hearts on an ace-high board. Since my opponent has checked for the second time, I will bet 7 big blinds to continue extracting value from draws and weaker pairs while protecting my hand from potential overcards or completed draws.
My opponent is making a larger bet on the turn, but I still have top pair with my ace of clubs and 10 of spades. The board has many draw possibilities they could be bluffing with, so calling is the best play to keep their bluffs in the hand.
The river is the 4 of hearts. No flush draws came home, and it looks like we're heading for a significant showdown if Gemini Pro finds a call.
The 4 of hearts on the river changes very little, and all the flush draws have missed. Holding top pair with my ace of clubs, checking is the right move to let my opponent bluff with their busted draws.
I still have top pair with an ace and a 10 kicker. My opponent has checked 3 streets in a row, suggesting a weak pair or a missed draw, so I will bet 14 big blinds to extract final value from worse aces or middle pairs.
Both the diamond and spade flush draws missed completely. With my top pair, the ace of clubs, my hand, is a solid bluff catcher against their missed draws, so calling this river bet is the best decision.
It is a split pot. Both players held an identical ace-10 for one pair, resulting in a 52 big blind chop. Incredible that they both played it so similarly. Next hand, we are back in the action as Gemini Pro looks down at ace-3 offsuit on the butt.
I have an ace with a low kicker, which is plenty strong enough to open the betting when playing heads up. I will make a standard raise to build the pot and take the initiative.
I have a jack of hearts and a 9 of diamonds. Facing a small open raise from the button, this hand has enough equity and playability to see a flop. Defending the big blind is standard in this heads-up scenario.
The flop falls 3 of diamonds, 10 of clubs, and the king of spades. Gemini Pro hits bottom pair, but decides to play it cautiously on this coordinated board.
I have a jack of hearts and a 9 of diamonds on a board featuring a king of spades, a 10 of clubs, and a 3 of diamonds. I have an inside straight draw to a queen, but since the board favors the preflop raiser's range, I will check to the opponent and see how they act.
I flop bottom pair with an ace kicker. The king and 10 connect well with my opponent's preflop calling range, so betting here is too risky. Checking behind controls the pot size and allows me to see the turn for free.
The turn is the 7 of diamonds. Neither player is willing to pull the trigger yet, as the pot remains small.
I'm holding a jack of hearts and a 9 of diamonds, giving me an inside straight draw to a queen. After both of us check the flop, the turn 7 of diamonds is a relatively neutral card, so I will check once more to control the pot size and see how my opponent reacts.
I still only have bottom pair and an ace kicker on a board that has become more coordinated with the 7 of diamonds. My opponent checked again, but betting here exposes me to a check raise, so I will check behind to keep the pot small.
The river is a second king, the king of clubs. This really complicates the showdown value of these hands.
I have a jack of hearts and a 9 of diamonds, which is only jack high on this board. Since the action has been checked through on every street, it is unlikely my opponent has a strong hand, but I will check to see if I can win at showdown or fold to a bet.
I have 2 pair, kings and 3s with an ace kicker. However, any higher pair from my opponent beats me. Since worse hands will fold and only better hands will call a bet, checking behind to take it to a showdown is the most profitable play.
We go to showdown after a very passive line from both. Gemini Pro takes it with 2 pair, kings and 3s, while Gemini Flash finishes with 1 pair. Next hand.
King 2 suited is a solid hand to open raise from the button in heads-up play. I will make a standard raise to apply pressure and take the initiative, as we have good flush potential and position post-flop.
Have the 7 and 4 of clubs in the big blind. Since the small blind only made a minimum raise, I am getting excellent pot odds to call and see a flop. This suited hand has reasonable playability and potential to make strong hands like flushes or straights.
The flop brings a 9 of diamonds, king of spades, and the 9 of hearts. Gemini Pro flops top pair on this dry, paired board, putting Gemini Flash in a world of trouble.
The flop shows a pair of 9s and a king, which does not help my 7 and 4 of clubs at all. I will check to the pre-flop raiser to see how they react, as this board likely favors their range more than mine.
I hit top pair with the king of hearts, but my 2 kicker is very weak on this paired board of nines. Checking behind is the best move to control the pot size and avoid a tough situation if my opponent decides to check raise.
The turn is the 4 of diamonds. Gemini Flash picks up a pair, which might encourage them to stick around, but they are still way behind Gemini Pro's kings.
I have picked up a pair of 4s on the turn after the flop went check-check. While this pair provides some showdown value against the small blind's range, it is still quite weak on this board featuring a king and a pair of 9s. I will check to keep the pot small.
My opponent checked twice, so my top pair of kings is very likely the best hand right now. I am betting half the pot to extract value from smaller pocket pairs or diamond flush draws.
I have improved to a pair of 4s on the turn. Since the opponent checked back the flop and is now making a small half-pot bet, my hand has enough showdown value to justify a call. I'm getting good odds to see a river card.
The river is the 3 of hearts. It's a total brick, and we are likely headed to a showdown with these 2 pairs.
I have 2 pair, 9s and 4s with a king kicker. Since this is a marginal hand and the opponent showed strength by betting the turn, checking is the best play to control the size of the pot and reach a showdown cheaply.
I have 2 pair with kings and 9s, but my kicker is the lowest possible. My opponent called my turn bet, which means they could hold a better king or a slow-played 9. Checking behind allows me to safely reach showdown.
Gemini Pro drags the pot with 2 pair, kings and 9s. Gemini Flash also held 2 pair with 9s and 4s, but the kings on top take it home for Gemini Pro. Next hand, let's see how our competitors handle this one.
Jack of clubs and 8 of hearts is a solid hand to open from the button in a heads-up game. Raising allows me to take control of the pot and utilize my positional advantage on later streets against the big blind.
Facing a standard raise from the button, calling with pocket 5s is the best play. I can comfortably defend my big blind and look to hit a set on the flop while managing the pot size from out of position.
The flop brings the 7 of clubs, 6 of hearts, and a king of spades. That king is a major scare card for Gemini Pro's pocket 5s, but Gemini Flash has completely missed this board.
Being out of position on a king-high board, checking to the preflop raiser is the standard approach. My pocket 5s are relatively weak here, so I want to maintain pot control and evaluate my opponent's next move.
The king of spades on the flop is much better for my range as the preflop raiser. By betting small with my jack of clubs and 8 of hearts, I can capitalize on my positional advantage and likely force a fold from many hands that miss the board.
Facing a continuation bet on a king-high flop with just an underpair and no draw, folding is the best decision. Playing pocket 5s out of position here is unprofitable because it is extremely difficult to improve or reach showdown.
Gemini Flash takes it down with high card. A textbook continuation, bet on a scary board texture, forces Gemini Pro to lay down their 1 pair. Next hand.
In heads-up play, we open a very wide range of hands from the button. Queen 7 offsuit is well within our standard opening range, so I will make a standard raise to take control of the pot and apply pressure.
I have the jack of diamonds and 5 of diamonds in the big blind. Since the small blind only raised to 2 big blinds, the price to see a flop is very cheap, and my hand has enough potential value to justify a call and defend my position.
The flop falls 8 of spades, jack of spades, and king of clubs. Gemini Flash finds middle pair, but with that king on board, both players are proceeding with extreme caution.
I have middle pair with my jack of diamonds, but the board features a king, which is a very strong card for the opponent's range. Checking is the most standard and effective play to control the pot size and see how the opponent proceeds.
With queen high and no draws on a very coordinated board featuring a king, jack, and 8, a continuation bet would be a mistake. This texture connects heavily with my opponent's calling range, so checking back is the safest play.
The turn is the Jack of clubs, and Gemini Flash has just improved to trips. This hand is getting very dangerous for Gemini Pro.
I have improved to 3 of a kind with my Jack of diamonds. Since the flop action was checked through, I will check again to give my opponent a chance to bet their draws or kings, allowing me to maximize value later in the hand.
The turn card pairs the Jack and my opponent checked again, but I still have absolutely no draw and only queen high. There is no reason to put chips into the pot, so I will take a free river card.
Unbelievable. The Jack of hearts on the river gives Gemini Flash 4 of a kind. A rare and absolute monster has just been completed.
I have made 4 of a kind with the Jack of diamonds. Given the passive action on the flop and turn, I will place a bet of 2 big blinds to try and get value from a king or an ace-high hand that might call.
The river brings a third Jack to the board and my opponent bets out. I only have a queen kicker, which loses to any ace, any pocket pair, and any piece of the board. I will simply fold my hand.
Gemini Pro finds the fold button, but they were drawing dead regardless. Gemini Flash takes the pot with 4 of a kind, while Gemini Pro had 3 of a kind using the board texture. Next hand.
I'm holding Queen of Hearts and Jack of Diamonds on the button. This is a strong Broadway hand in heads-up play, so I will raise to 2.5 big blinds to exert pressure and take advantage of my position throughout the hand.
King 8 offsuit has enough high card strength to defend the big blind against a standard button raise. I am getting good pot odds, so calling to evaluate the flop is the most profitable decision.
The flop comes down King of spades, King of diamonds, and a 4 of clubs. A massive flop for Gemini Pro, who just flopped 3 of a kind, leaving Gemini Flash in a world of hurt.
I flopped 3 of a kind with my king. Since the board is very dry and I'm out of position, checking is the best play to let the preflop raise or bluff or continuation bet with weaker hands.
I hold Queen of Hearts and Jack of Diamonds on a paired King of spades, King of diamonds, and 4 of clubs board. As the preflop raiser, I have a range advantage here, so I will place a small continuation bet of 1.7 big blinds to fold out the opponent's air.
I plan to check and induce a bet worked perfectly. Since the board is extremely dry, raising now would likely scare away all of my opponent's bluffs. Calling keeps their range wide and allows me to trap for more value.
The 2 of spades is a complete brick on the turn. Gemini Pro is still playing it cool, checking to let the bluff continue.
The 2 of spades on the turn changes very little. I will check again to give my opponent the opportunity to continue bluffing or to bet with weaker hands. My 3 of a kind is still very strong.
I have Queen of Hearts and Jack of Diamonds on a board showing King of spades, King of diamonds, and 4 of clubs. After the opponent checked the turn, I will check back to control the pot size and realize my showdown value, as the 2 of spades is a blank card.
The 10 of diamonds finishes the board. It is time to see if Gemini Pro can get paid off on this river.
Since my opponent checked back on the turn, they likely have a marginal hand. I must bet for value now to extract chips from hands like a 10 or a smaller pocket pair that might call a half-pot wager.
I have only Queen high with the Queen of Hearts and Jack of Diamonds. The board shows a pair of kings and a 10, and since my opponent is betting into me, it is unlikely my hand is best. Even their bluffs, like ace-high, would beat my current holding.
Gemini Flash finds the fold button with just queen high. Gemini Pro takes down the pot with 3 of a kind, showing why you never want to bet into a paired board against a king. Next hand, Gemini Pro finds a very playable King of spades, Queen of spades on the button.
King-Queen suited is a premium starting hand in heads-up play. Opening with a raise allows me to build the pot for value and take the betting initiative going into the flop.
I have the Queen of clubs and 8 of clubs in the big blind. This hand is strong enough to defend against a standard open raise from the button, especially since I am getting good pot odds. I will call to see the flop and realize my equity with this suited hand.
The flop comes Jack of spades, 9 of clubs, 6 of diamonds. Gemini Flash is drawing to a gut shot, while Gemini Pro has overcards and a backdoor straight draw.
I have the queen of clubs and eight of clubs on a jack of spades, nine of clubs, six of diamonds board. I have an inside straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. Since I am out of position, I will check to the preflop aggressor to see how they play the flop.
With king-queen suited, I have two overcards, a gutshot straight draw, and a backdoor flush draw. Betting here applies pressure to my opponent after their check, allowing me to take down the pot or build it for when I hit.
I have the queen of clubs and eight of clubs on a board of jack of spades, nine of clubs, and six of diamonds. This gives me an inside straight draw to a 10 and a backdoor flush draw. Calling the small bet is the right move to see the next card and try to complete my hand.
The turn is the four of spades. That is a massive card for Gemini Pro, who now picks up a king-high flush draw to go with their other outs.
I have the queen of clubs and eight of clubs on a board of jack of spades, nine of clubs, six of diamonds, and four of spades. I'm still holding an inside straight draw to a 10. Since I am out of position, I will check again to the initial aggressor to see their reaction.
The turn brings a four of spades, giving me a strong king-high flush draw to go with my gutshot straight draw and overcards. Continuing to bet as a semi-bluff maintains the pressure and builds the pot for when I hit my massive draw.
A sizable 7 big blind bet from Gemini Pro. They are really leveraging that flush draw to push Gemini Flash off the pot.
I have the queen of clubs and eight of clubs on a board of jack of spades, nine of clubs, six of diamonds, and four of spades. I only have an inside straight draw to a 10, and since the opponent bets 70% of the pot, I do not have the required equity to call.
Gemini Flash decides to let it go. Gemini Pro takes it down with high card after a well-timed semi-bluff on the turn. Next hand.
I'm holding queen of clubs and five of clubs on the button. Raising to 2.5 big blinds is a standard play in heads-up poker to exert pressure on the big blind and capitalize on the playability of suited cards.
King-Jack offsuit is a strong enough hand to defend against a standard button raise. Calling allows me to see the flop with two good high cards while keeping the pot manageable out of position.
Unbelievable flop. It comes monotone with the king of clubs, six of clubs, and ace of clubs. Gemini Flash has flopped a flush and Gemini Pro is in a world of trouble with middle pair.
I have middle pair with a jack-high flush draw on an ace-high monotone board. As the preflop caller out of position, checking to the preflop aggressor is the standard play to control the pot size and evaluate their action.
I have the nut flush with the queen of clubs and five of clubs on a board showing the ace of clubs, king of clubs, and six of clubs. I'm betting for value, aiming to get called by hands like top pair or a single high club.
I have middle pair and a strong jack-high flush draw on this three-club board. The opponent's small bet gives me excellent pot odds to continue, so calling is the most profitable choice to try and improve my hand without overcommitting chips.
The turn brings the two of diamonds, a brick that doesn't change anything. Gemini Flash still holds the effectively unbeatable flush here.
The two of diamonds is a complete blank that does not change the board texture. I still hold middle pair and a jack-high flush draw, so checking to the preflop aggressor is the best play to control the pot.
I hold the absolute nuts with a queen-high flush because the ace and king of clubs are already on the board. My opponent has checked for the second time, so I am betting 7 big blinds to extract maximum value from their likely holdings.
The opponent is betting heavily on the turn, but my middle pair and jack-high flush draw are too strong to fold. Since my jack of clubs draws to the second best possible flush, calling to see the river is the optimal choice.
The river is the four of diamonds. No fourth club for Gemini Pro, who is left with just a pair of kings.
The river card is a blank, meaning my flush draw missed completely. Since I only have second pair, Checking to the aggressor is the safest play to evaluate their final action and try to reach showdown.
I hold the absolute nuts with a queen-high flush because the ace and king of clubs are on the board. Since my opponent checked for the third time, I am betting 18 big blinds to extract maximum value from a top pair or a smaller flush.
Facing 3 streets of heavy aggression, my second pair of kings is merely a bluff catcher. The opponent is strongly representing an ace or a made flush, so folding is the safest and most optimal choice here.
A disciplined fold by Gemini Pro, but Gemini Flash wins a nice pot. Gemini Flash had the flush and took down Gemini Pro's one pair without a showdown. Next hand.
I am holding an ace of diamonds and a 2 of spades in the small blind. Raising to 2.5 big blinds is the standard game theory optimal play to take initiative and leverage my positional advantage against the big blind.
Facing a standard button raise, 10-7 suited is certainly strong enough to defend our big blind. We have good playability after the flop with both flush and straight potential, making calling a solid and profitable choice.
The flop brings the 6 of hearts, 2 of hearts, and the queen of clubs. Gemini Flash has connected for bottom pair, but that is a scary board with the queen and the heart draw present.
I completely missed this queen-high flop with my 10-7 of clubs. Being out of position against the preflop raiser, checking is the standard play as I have no equity to continue aggressively.
I have bottom pair with a pair of 2s and an ace of diamonds kicker. Since the board contains a queen and a heart draw, I will check back to control the pot size and realize my equity while avoiding a potential raise from my opponent.
The 9 of spades on the turn doesn't change the lead, but it does give Gemini Pro a gut shot straight draw. Let's see if they try to buy it here.
Since the opponent checked behind on the flop, they likely have a marginal hand. The 9 of spades gives me a gut shot straight draw, making this an ideal spot to bet as a semi-bluff and potentially win the pot right now.
Have bottom pair with a pair of 2s and an ace of diamonds kicker. My opponent is leading with a small bet after I checked back the flop, so I have sufficient equity to call and see the river to see if my hand holds up or improves.
The 6 of spades on the river pairs the board. Gemini Flash has improved to 2 pair, 6s, and 2s, while Gemini Pro has completely missed their straight draw.
I completely missed my straight draw and have no showdown value with 10 high. Since the opponent showed weakness on the flop, firing a large bluff on the river puts maximum pressure on their marginal pairs and missed draws to win the pot.
Gemini Pro is not going away. They fire a big sizing of 7.5 big blinds into a 10 big blind pot, trying to represent that queen or even a full house.
Have 2 pair with 6s and 2s, using my ace of diamonds as a kicker. However, the board contains a queen of clubs and a 9 of spades, and the 6 has paired on the river. Given my opponent's large bet size, my bottom pair is likely beaten by a queen, a 9, or a 6.
Incredible! Gemini Pro wins with just 1 pair after Gemini Flash folds the best hand. That was a textbook bluff to take down a healthy pot. Next hand.
Queen and Jack suited is a premium starting hand in heads-up play. As the first to act on the button, raising is the standard and most profitable play to build the pot and take the initiative.
I have a pocket pair of 6s, which is a strong hand in heads-up play. I will choose to 3-bet to build the pot and take the initiative against the button opening range, as this hand has high expected value and plays well against many possible hands.
Facing a 3-bet from the big blind, my suited queen and jack plays extremely well in position. The hand has excellent playability to make straights, flushes, or strong pairs. Calling to see the flop with position is a standard and profitable play.
Gemini Flash puts in a healthy 3-bet with pocket sixes, and Gemini Pro isn't going anywhere with that suited Broadway connectivity. We are going to a flop with a decent pot building. The flop brings the 7 of spades, 4 of diamonds, and the king of clubs. That king is a major card for a 3-bet range, likely giving Gemini Flash some pause even with the pocket pair.
I hold a pocket pair of sixes on a king-high board featuring the king of clubs, 7 of spades, and 4 of diamonds. Having 3-bet before the flop, I represent a strong range and will lead with a small bet to maintain pressure and protect my hand's equity.
Facing a continuation bet on a king-high flop, my queen-high with only backdoor draws has very little equity. The opponent's 3-betting range connects heavily with this board, so folding is the most sensible play.
Simple continuation bet gets the job done. Gemini Flash takes it down with 1 pair, while Gemini Pro correctly lets go of high card on that king-high board. Next hand, let's see what the cards have in store for us.
I have the ace of diamonds and queen of hearts, which is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. I will raise to take the initiative, build the pot, and apply pressure on the big blind.
I have the 7 of diamonds and 6 of hearts in the big blind. The small blind raised to 2.5 big blinds, and I am getting the right price to see a flop with these connected cards. Defending here is standard in heads-up play.
The flop comes down Jack of diamonds, 2 of spades, 2 of clubs. A very dry, paired board that likely favors the pre-flop raiser's range.
The 7 of diamonds and 6 of hearts, I have missed this flop of Jack 2-2 completely. Checking is the most appropriate move as the big blind, allowing the preflop raiser to act first on this paired board while I wait for a better spot.
The board is very dry with a jack and 2 twos, which strongly favors my preflop raising range. Even though I only have ace-high with my ace of diamonds and queen of hearts, a small continuation bet will effectively fold out my opponent's weaker hands and maintain my aggression.
I have 7 high with the 7 of diamonds and 6 of hearts. The board of Jack of diamonds, 2 of spades, and 2 of clubs does not improve my hand at all. Since I have no equity or drawing potential, folding to the continuation bet is the most disciplined play.
Gemini Flash lets it go, and Gemini Pro takes it down. Gemini Pro had 1 pair, and that small continuation bet was more than enough to secure the pot. Next hand.
King 5 offsuit is strong enough to open raise from the button in heads-up play. Raising puts pressure on the big blind, giving me a chance to win the pot immediately or play in position after the flop.
I am holding the Jack of clubs and 9 of hearts in the big blind. The opponent made a small raise from the small blind, giving me excellent pot odds of 3-1. This hand is strong enough to defend and see a flop in a heads-up match.
The flop is the 8 of clubs, 7 of diamonds, and 10 of spades. Incredible flop for Gemini Flash, who has hit the nut straight immediately with the 9 and Jack in the hole.
I have made a straight with my Jack of clubs and 9 of hearts on a board of 8, 7, and 10. I will check first to the preflop aggressor to encourage them to bet, allowing me to check raise and build a larger pot with my very strong hand.
The opponent checked, and I have just king high with no strong draws on a heavily connected board that favors their defending range. Checking back allows me to control the pot size and possibly improve on the turn.
The 4 of hearts on the turn is unlikely to change the current hierarchy of this hand. Gemini Flash checks again, setting a trap with that straight.
I still hold the nuts with a jack-high straight on this board of 10, 8, 7, and 4. Since the opponent checked back on the flop, I will check once more to induce a bet or a bluff, looking to check raise and maximize my value before the river.
The turn card gives me a gutshot straight draw to go with my king overcard. After my opponent checks a second time, betting here is a great opportunity to fold out their ace-high or better king-high hands, winning the pot uncontested.
I have the nuts straight with my Jack of clubs and 9 of hearts on a board of 8, 7, 10, and 4. Now that my opponent has bet, I am raising to 8 big blinds to build the pot and extract value from strong hands like 2 pair or 3 of a kind.
a huge raise from Gemini Flash. They were waiting for this action, and now they are putting the pressure on Gemini Pro.
Facing a large check raise on the turn, my king high with only a weak gutshot straight draw has almost no equity. The opponent is representing a very strong hand like two pair or a straight, making this an easy fold.
Gemini Pro finds the fold button, avoiding any more damage. Gemini Flash scoops the pot, winning with a straight against Gemini Pro's high card. Next hand, Gemini Flash is on the button with Queen 6 suited.
I am holding the Queen of Diamonds and 6 of Diamonds on the button. This hand is strong enough to open for a raise to 2.5 big blinds to exert pressure on the big blind and capitalize on my positional advantage.
Holding the Queen of Spades and 10 of Hearts, I am facing a standard raise from the button. This hand has solid playability and enough equity to defend from the big blind. Calling to evaluate the flop is the most profitable decision.
The flop comes down 7 of Spades, 4 of Hearts, and the Jack of Spades. A jack-high board that significantly favors Gemini Pro's calling range, though both players have missed for now.
I completely missed this flop, having only Queen High and some very weak backdoor draws. Checking to the preflop raiser is the standard and safest play in this situation. I will wait to see what my opponent does, but I am ready to fold to any aggression.
I have the Queen of Diamonds and 6 of Diamonds. Since I was the preflop aggressor and my opponent checked, I am placing a small continuation bet of 1.7 big blinds to pressure their range on this jack-high board.
Facing a continuation bet on a flop where I have completely missed, I only hold Queen High with no strong draws. Folding is the best choice to save my chips for better opportunities.
Gemini Flash takes it down with a simple continuation bet. Gemini Pro correctly finds the fold with Queen 10, while Gemini Flash wins the pot with high card. Next hand, Gemini Flash is looking to capitalize on that positional advantage with the 10 of clubs and 8 of spades.
I'm holding the 10 of clubs and the 8 of spades on the button. In heads-up play, this is a standard hand to open with a raise to 2.5 big blinds. This allows me to take control of the pot and utilize my positional advantage after the flop.
King 5 suited is a strong enough hand to defend from the big blind against a standard raise. Calling gives us a chance to flop a flush draw or top pair while keeping the pot manageable.
The flop is out and it is a paired board, 6 of spades, 7 of diamonds, and 6 of hearts. A very dry texture that usually favors the preflop aggressor.
I'm out of position against the preflop raiser, so checking is the standard play on this paired board. My king high has marginal value and a backdoor flush draw, but there is no reason to lead out.
I have the 10 of clubs and the 8 of spades on a board showing 6 of spades, 7 of diamonds, and 6 of hearts. Since I was the preflop aggressor and the board is paired, I will place a small continuation bet with my gutshot straight draw and overcards to maintain pressure.
Gemini Flash leads out with a standard continuation bet, putting the king high of Gemini Pro to a real test here.
Against a continuation bet on this paired board, my king high with only a backdoor flush draw is simply too weak to continue. Folding is the safest and most profitable play here to preserve my stack.
Gemini Pro decides to fold it, and Gemini Flash drags the pot. Gemini Flash had one pair and takes it with a well-timed bet on the flop. Next hand, Gemini Pro looks down at ace-10 of clubs on the button, a premium hand for heads-up action.
Ace-10 suited is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. Raising is the standard play here to build the pot, take control of the action from the button, and apply pressure on the big blind from the very start.
I have the Jack of clubs and 5 of clubs, which is a suited hand with decent playability. Since I am in the big blind and the open raise is small, I am getting good pot odds to call and see a flop to realize my equity.
The flop comes down with the 3 of clubs, the king of spades, and another king, the king of clubs. A very interesting texture as both players have flopped a flush draw, but Gemini Pro has the nut draw.
I have a flush draw with the jack of clubs and 5 of clubs on a paired king-high board. Since I am out of position as the big blind, I will check to the preflop raiser to see how they respond before committing more chips to the pot.
I have the nut flush draw and an ace over card on a paired board with 2 kings. A small continuation bet puts pressure on my opponent, while still allowing me to build the pot in case I complete my flush.
I have a flush draw with the jack of clubs and 5 of clubs on a board with 2 kings and the 3 of clubs. The opponent bet only 1.5 big blinds into a 5 big blind pot, so I have the correct price to call and see if I can improve on the turn.
The turn is the ace of diamonds. This is a massive card for Gemini Pro, who now takes a commanding lead with 2 pair, aces, and kings.
The ace of diamonds is a significant card that often favors the preflop raiser's range. I still have a flush draw with the jack and 5 of clubs, so I will check to the opponent to control the pot size and hopefully see a free river card.
Hitting the ace on the turn gives me 2 pair, aces, and kings, and I still hold the nut flush draw. Betting here extracts value from weaker aces and charges any opposing draws, keeping the pressure on.
The ace of diamonds is a very strong card for the opponent's range as the preflop aggressor. Because the board is already paired with kings and my opponent is sizing up their bet, my jack-high flush draw does not have the required equity to make a profitable call.
Gemini Flash realizes they are likely beaten and lays it down. Gemini Pro collects the pot, showing down 2 pair. Next hand.
I am holding the 8 of diamonds and 5 of diamonds on the button. This is a playable suited hand in heads-up play, so I will raise to 2.5 big blinds to take control of the hand and apply pressure to the big blind.
I hold 7-6 of clubs, a suited connector that plays very well after the flop. Facing a standard raise from the button, calling to defend my big blind is the most profitable play with plenty of potential to hit strong draws.
The flop falls ace of hearts, queen of clubs, and 5 of hearts. Gemini Flash pairs his 5, but that is a very dangerous texture with high cards looming.
I completely missed this flop with 7 high, and an ace-queen board heavily favors the preflop raiser's range. I will check and plan to fold to any bet.
I have bottom pair with my 5 of diamonds on a board featuring an ace of hearts and a queen of clubs. Since my opponent checked, I will check behind to keep the pot small and try to reach a cheap showdown or improve on the turn.
The turn is the 6 of spades. That is a massive card for Gemini Pro, vaulting him into the lead with a pair of 6s.
I picked up a pair of 6s on the turn, but it is still a very weak hand on an ace-queen board. Since my opponent checked behind on the flop, I will check again to keep the pot small and evaluate their action.
I still hold bottom pair with my 5 of diamonds on a board containing an ace of hearts, queen of clubs, 5 of hearts, and 6 of spades. Since my opponent has checked for a second time, I will check behind to keep the pot small and try to reach a cheap showdown.
The river is the jack of hearts. A very scary board for both players with the flush potential and 4 cards to a straight now present.
My pair of 6s is very weak on this scary board containing an ace, queen, jack, and 3 hearts. I will check to see a cheap showdown and fold if my opponent decides to bet.
I have bottom pair with my 5 of diamonds on a board featuring an ace of hearts, queen of clubs, and jack of hearts. Since my opponent has checked through every street, I will check back to take my showdown value against their range of missed draws and marginal hands.
Gemini Pro drags the pot. Both players finish with 1 pair, but the 6s manage to outkick the 5s of Gemini Flash in a very tentative showdown. Next hand.
In heads-up play, being on the button allows us to open a very wide range. Jack-8 offsuit is plenty strong enough to min-raise to 2 big blinds. We take the initiative and secure positional advantage for the post-flop betting rounds.
I have a 9 of diamonds and a 7 of hearts. Since the opponent made a minimum raise from the button, I am getting very favorable pot odds to defend my big blind. This hand has enough potential to see a flop and realize its equity in position.
The flop falls 4 of hearts, 10 of spades, and 5 of diamonds. a disconnected board texture that hasn't provided much help for either Gemini Flash or Gemini Pro.
I have a 9 of diamonds and a 7 of hearts on a board with a 10 of spades, 5 of diamonds, and 4 of hearts. I did not connect with this flop, and since I am playing out of position, checking is the most standard and disciplined play to see how the opponent responds.
My Jack-8 offsuit completely missed this board, leaving me with no pair and no real draw. Since I have almost zero equity and no good bluffing properties, checking behind to conserve chips is the smartest decision.
The turn is the Ace of Hearts. This is a classic scare card that significantly favors Gemini Pro's preflop raising range.
I have a 9 of diamonds and a 7 of hearts, which is currently just 9 high. The Ace of Hearts on the turn is a significant card that likely improves the preflop raiser's range, and since I have no made hand or draw, checking is the most logical play.
The ace on the turn is a perfect card to bluff, as it strongly favors my preflop raising range. Since my opponent checked again, I will make a delayed continuation bet to steal the pot with my jack-high.
Gemini Pro takes the cue and fires a bet of 2 big blinds, putting Gemini Flash to the test with that new ace on the board.
I have a 9 of diamonds and a 7 of hearts on a board featuring an ace, a 10, a 5, and a 4. Since I have no pair, no draw, and very little chance of winning at showdown, I must fold to the opponent's turn bet.
Gemini Flash decides to fold, and Gemini Pro takes it down with high card. A clever bluff on the turn, utilizing that ace to secure the pot. Next hand.
Pocket sixes is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. Raising from the button allows me to take the initiative, put pressure on the big blind, and build the pot early.
I have a pocket pair of threes and am facing a small raise from the button. The pot odds are very favorable, so I will call to see a flop and hope to hit a set of threes, which would give me a very strong hand.
The flop brings a pair of fives and a 6 of spades. Unbelievable luck for Gemini Pro, who has just flopped a monster full house, 6s full of 5s.
I have pocket threes on a paired board of 5 of diamonds, 6 of spades, and 5 of spades. Since I am out of position against the preflop aggressor, checking is the most appropriate play to control the pot size and see how my opponent proceeds.
I flopped a monster hand, a full house with 6s full of 5s. I want to build the pot immediately, so I will bet to extract value from flush draws, pocket pairs, or any opponent holding a 5.
I have a pocket pair of threes on a board containing a pair of 5s and a 6 of spades. While my hand is relatively weak, the small bet size from my opponent gives me the right price to call and see how the turn develops.
The turn is the 10 of hearts. Gemini Pro is sitting on a brick wall here, and Gemini Flash is checking once more to the aggressor.
The 10 of hearts on the turn is an overcard to my pocket threes. Since I am out of position and my hand has limited showdown value, I will check to see if my opponent continues their aggression before deciding my next move.
I have an incredibly strong hand with a full house, 6s full of 5s. Since my opponent checked again, I will continue betting to extract maximum value from hands like a 10, a 5, or a spade flush draw.
I have a pocket pair of threes, but the board now contains a pair of 5s and a 10 of hearts. My opponent is showing significant strength by betting 3/4 of the pot on the turn. Since my hand is likely behind and has very little chance to improve, I must fold.
A wise fold from Gemini Flash, who only had 2 pair. Gemini Pro takes the pot with a massive full house. Next hand. Gemini Flash is looking at the 10 of diamonds and 7 of diamonds on the button.
I have 10 of diamonds and 7 of diamonds on the button. This is a strong enough hand to open for a raise in heads-up play to build the pot and take control of the hand early against the big blind.
I hold King-Jack offsuit, which is definitely strong enough to defend the big blind against a button raise. Calling keeps the pot manageable and allows me to evaluate the flop before committing more chips.
The flop comes down 2 of diamonds, 10 of spades, and 5 of diamonds. Gemini Flash hits top pair and picks up a flush draw to boot. Gemini Pro is in a world of trouble here.
With king of spades and jack of clubs, I completely miss the 2, 10, 5 flop. I have no pair and no meaningful draw, so checking to the preflop raiser is the best course of action.
I have top pair with the 10 of diamonds and a flush draw on a board of 2 of diamonds, 10 of spades, and 5 of diamonds. Since the opponent checked, I will bet for value and to build a larger pot with a very strong hand.
I miss the 2, 10, 5 flop entirely and have no draws. Facing a bet, holding only king high with a jack kicker is too weak to continue, so folding is the optimal play.
Gemini Pro decides not to peel 1 and folds. Gemini Flash wins the hand with 1 pair, while Gemini Pro was left with just a high card. Next hand, Gemini Pro is on the button as we get things underway.
In heads-up play, we want to open a wide range from the button. 9-7 offsuit is playable enough to make a minimum raise, allowing us to take control of the pot and utilize our positional advantage after the flop.
I am holding the 2 of hearts and 3 of hearts in the big blind. Given the small raise from the button, I have the correct pot odds to see a flop with a suited hand, even though I will be playing out of position for the rest of the hand.
The flop comes down 2 of spades, 3 of spades, and the 5 of hearts. Unbelievable luck for Gemini Flash, flopping bottom 2 pair on this low board.
I have flopped bottom 2 pair with the 2 of hearts and 3 of hearts on a board containing the 2 of spades, 3 of spades, and 5 of hearts. I will check to the pre-flop aggressor to induce a bet, with the intention of check-raising to protect my hand from draws.
I missed this low flop entirely, holding only 9 high with minimal draw potential. Checking behind allows me to control the pot size and take a free card.
The turn is the jack of diamonds. Gemini Flash still holds the lead here, but the action was quiet on the flop.
I have 2 pair with my 3 of hearts and 2 of hearts on a board of 2 of spades, 3 of spades, 5 of hearts, and jack of diamonds. Since the flop checked through, I will lead with a bet for value and to protect against spade flush draws.
I have 9 high with no pair and no viable draw. Since my opponent bet on the turn, folding is the only sensible choice to preserve my chips.
Gemini Pro can't find a reason to stick around with just high card, so Gemini Flash takes it down with those 2 pair. A nice bit of value there. Next hand, we see pocket 8s for Gemini Pro, while Gemini Flash is looking to play the 9-6 of hearts.
I am raising with 9-6 of hearts from the button to apply pressure on the big blind. This suited hand has good playability and post-flop potential, and raising allows me to take the lead in the hand while in position.
I have pocket 8s, which is a very strong starting hand in a heads-up match. 3-betting for value against the button open puts pressure on their wide range and allows me to take the initiative going to the flop.
I'm calling the 3-bet with the 9 of hearts and 6 of hearts because I have position and the hand has decent connectivity and flush potential. Given the effective stack depth, it is profitable to see a flop and look for opportunities to outplay the opponent.
The flop is the king of spades, 5 of clubs, and 6 of diamonds. Gemini Pro maintains the lead with those 8s, but Flash has bottom pair and some backdoor potential.
I was the preflop aggressor, and this king-high board heavily favors my range. A small continuation bet puts pressure on their floating hands and smaller pocket pairs while protecting my pocket 8s.
I have middle pair with my 9 of hearts and 6 of hearts on a king-high board. Since the opponent's lead is relatively small and I am in position, I will call to see a turn card and reevaluate the strength of my hand.
The 10 of clubs on the turn adds some connectivity to the board, prompting a bit of caution from both players here.
The 10 of clubs is an overcard to my pocket eights and connects well with hands that called my flop bet. Checking allows me to control the pot size and carefully evaluate my opponent's next move.
I am checking behind with my pair of sixes to realize my showdown value. The 10 of clubs is a card that could have potentially improved the opponent's three-betting range, so checking allows me to control the size of the pot and see a river card for free.
Unbelievable. The 6 of clubs on the river is a total game changer, handing Gemini flash trips.
The river paired the 6 and completed a potential club flush. My pocket eights have decent showdown value against missed draws or high cards, but cannot realistically bet for value. Checking allows me to reach a cheap showdown.
I have improved to three-of-a-kind sixes on the river. Since my opponent has checked both the turn and the river, I believe I have the best hand and should bet for value. I expect to be called by a king or a medium pocket pair.
Flash isn't checking this through. That's a value bet of 13 big blinds after spiking the miracle 6.
My pocket eights are reduced to a weak bluff catcher by the river. Holding an 8 also blocks many of their potential missed straight draw bluffs, making this a poor hand to call with against their half-pot bet.
A disciplined fold from Gemini Pro, who holds 2 pair. Gemini Flash takes it down with 3 of a kind after a very well-timed river. Next hand, Gemini Flash is on the button and looking to maintain some pressure here.
I'm raising to 2.5 big blinds with the king of spades and the 2 of clubs. In a heads-up situation, a king-high hand is strong enough to open from the button to put pressure on the big blind and maintain the advantage of playing in position.
I have ace-9 offsuit, which is a strong enough hand to defend my big blind against a standard button raise. Calling keeps the pot manageable while seeing a flop with a hand that often dominates my opponent's stealing range.
The flop falls 5 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, and the jack of clubs. A relatively dry board, but Gemini Pro currently holds the lead with ace high and a backdoor flush draw.
Being out of position as the preflop caller, the standard play is to check my entire range to the preflop raiser. I have an overcard and a backdoor flush draw, so I will evaluate my opponent's action before deciding my next move.
I'm making a small continuation bet of 1.7 big blinds with my king of spades and 2 of clubs. Since I was the preflop aggressor and the opponent checked, this bet puts pressure on their range and allows me to take down the pot if they missed this jack-high board.
Gemini Flash fires a standard continuation bet, trying to push Gemini Pro off of any marginal holdings on this jack-high texture.
Although I have the ace of clubs for a backdoor flush draw, it is not enough to justify calling out of position with just ace high and a weak kicker. Folding is the most prudent decision here.
Gemini Pro decides not to tangle and folds. Gemini Flash takes it down with high card, a successful bluff with the king of spades. Next hand, Gemini Pro has the button.
I have ace-5 offsuit, which is a standard open raise from the button in heads-up play. It provides good high card strength and blocker value, making it profitable to take the initiative and play in position.
I have the king of hearts and 5 of clubs in the big blind. Since my opponent made a small minimum raise, I am receiving excellent pot odds to call and see the flop. While this hand is marginal, it is strong enough to defend against a wide button opening range.
The flop falls 2 of spades, 10 of hearts, and 5 of diamonds. Both players have connected with a pair of fives, but Gemini Pro holds the superior ace kicker.
I have middle pair with a king of hearts and 5 of clubs on a dry board consisting of the 10 of hearts, 5 of diamonds, and 2 of spades. Checking is the standard play here to see how the preflop aggressor reacts while I am out of position.
I have middle pair with an ace kicker on a dry, disconnected board. A small continuation bet gets value from worse hands like ace high or pocket fours, while also denying equity to random overcards.
I have middle pair with my 5 of clubs on a board of 10 of hearts, 5 of diamonds, and 2 of spades. My opponent's bet size is small, giving me good odds to continue. I will call to keep the pot manageable while protecting my hand.
Spike, the king of spades on the turn, is a disaster for Gemini Pro, as Gemini Flash just improved to 2 pair and is now a massive favorite.
I have improved to 2 pair with kings and 5s on a board showing the 10 of hearts, 5 of diamonds, 2 of spades, and the king of spades. Checking allows me to control the pot size and gives my opponent a chance to continue betting with their bluffs or weaker pairs.
The king of spades is a dangerous card that improves my opponent's range and introduces flush draws. My pair of fives has some showdown value but isn't strong enough for another bet, so checking behind for pot control is the best play.
The river is the queen of hearts. The board is now extremely coordinated, making it difficult for Gemini Pro to call any more aggression.
I have 2 pair with kings and 5s on a board of king, queen, 10, 5, and 2. Since the turn went check-check, I likely have the best hand. I will place a value bet to get paid by a king with a lower kicker or a middle pair like a queen.
The queen of hearts on the river adds a third overcard to my pair of fives. The opponent's bet signals strength on a board that heavily connects with their calling range. My hand is simply too weak to catch bluffs, so folding is the optimal decision.
Gemini Pro finds the fold button, and Gemini Flash scoops this one up. Gemini Flash had 2 pair to beat Gemini Pro's 1 pair. Next hand, Gemini Pro wakes up with the absolute dream, pocket aces on the button.
I have pocket aces, the absolute best starting hand in Texas Hold'em. I am raising to build the pot right from the start and extract maximum expected value from my opponent.
I hold a king of spades and a 9 of hearts in the big blind. This hand is plenty strong enough to defend against a standard raise from the button in a heads-up game. I will call the additional 1.5 big blinds to see a flop.
The flop is 7 of clubs, 9 of spades, 4 of spades. Gemini Flash catches top pair, but he is still a massive underdog against the overpair of aces.
I have top pair with a king kicker on a board of 7 of clubs, 9 of spades, and 4 of spades. Since I am out of position, I will check to the pre-flop aggressor and evaluate their next move while protecting my range.
I have an overpair with pocket aces on a somewhat coordinated board. I will bet to extract value from drawing hands in worse pairs, while also protecting my hand.
I have top pair with a king kicker on a board of 7 of clubs, 9 of spades, and 4 of spades. Since the opponent made a small continuation bet of 1/3 the pot, calling is the most appropriate action to keep their range wide and see a turn card.
The turn brings the 7 of hearts, pairing the bottom of the board. Both players now have 2 pair, but Gemini Pro's aces and 7s dominate the 9s and 7s of Flash.
The turn is the 7 of hearts, which pairs the bottom card of the flop. I still hold top pair with my 9 of hearts and a king of spades kicker. I will check again to the opponent to control the pot size and observe their betting frequency on this paired board.
I still hold a powerful overpair with my pocket aces, and the paired 7 does not concern me much. I will continue betting to extract value from flush draws, straight draws, and weaker pairs.
I hold a king of spades and a nine of hearts, giving me two pair on this paired board of seven of clubs, nine of spades, four of spades, and seven of hearts. While the turn pairing the seven is slightly concerning, my hand is strong enough to call a half-pot bet to see the river.
The five of spades completes the board, and we have a potential flush out there. This could slow down the action.
The five of spades completes a potential flush. My hand, king nine, has showdown value as two pair, nines, and sevens. I will check to the opponent to see if they will check behind with a weaker hand, or if I need to evaluate a final bet.
The river completes potential flushes and straights. Although I hold the ace of spades to block the nut flush, a value bet is too thin here since worse hands will fold and better hands will call. I will check behind to safely realize my showdown value with pocket aces.
Gemini Pro drags the pot. Both players held two pair, but the aces and sevens of Gemini Pro were more than enough to beat Gemini Flash's nines and sevens. Next hand, Gemini Pro has the button, and we are ready to see some action.
King 6 offsuit is decent enough to play aggressively from the button in heads-up play. I will make a minimum raise to two big blinds to put pressure on the big blind and attempt to steal the pot.
I have a jack of spades and a nine of diamonds in the big blind. Since the button raised to only two big blinds, I am getting great pot odds to see a flop and defend my position with this hand.
The flop comes down three of hearts, four of diamonds, and another three of clubs. It is a very dry, paired board texture that likely misses both players' starting ranges.
I have jack of spades and nine of diamonds on a paired board of three of hearts, four of diamonds, and three of clubs. I will check to the preflop aggressor to see how they react on this very dry board texture.
The board is paired and very dry, which heavily favors my preflop raising range. I will make a small continuation bet with my king high to maintain the initiative and try to take down the pot right here.
I have jack of spades and nine of diamonds on a board of three of hearts, four of diamonds, and three of clubs. I have no pair and no functional draws to improve my hand. Even against a small continuation bet, this hand is too weak to continue without any backdoor equity.
Gemini Flash decides to fold, and Gemini Pro takes this one down. Both players technically had one pair using the threes on the board, but Gemini Pro wins it with the king high kicker. Next hand.
7-8 suited is a highly playable drawing hand that performs very well post-flop, especially when playing in position. Raising from the button allows me to take the initiative, potentially winning the pot right now or building it for a strong draw.
I have queen of hearts and four of hearts suited in the big blind. The small blind raised to two big blinds, giving me excellent pot odds to see a flop. This hand has enough potential to realize its equity against a wide button opening range.
The flop comes down eight of clubs, four of spades, six of hearts. Both players have connected here, with Gemini Pro landing top pair while Gemini Flash holds middle pair.
I have middle pair with a pair of fours and a queen kicker on a board of eight of clubs, four of spades, and six of hearts. Since I am out of position, I will check to the preflop aggressor to see how they react to this low board.
I flop top pair with an 8 alongside a gutshot straight draw. Since the opponent checked to me, I will bet to extract value and protect my hand on this coordinated board.
I have middle pair with my four of hearts on a board of eight of clubs, four of spades, and six of hearts. My opponent made a standard continuation bet, and my hand is too strong to fold to a single bet, so I will call to see the turn.
The turn brings the king of spades. This is a massive card for Gemini Pro, as it picks up a flush draw and a gut shot to go along with that top pair of eights.
The turn card is the king of spades, which is an overcard that likely favors my opponent's range. I still have a pair of fours, but with the king on the board, checking is the most prudent play to see how they proceed.
The king of spades is a fantastic card for me, adding a flush draw to my middle pair and gutshot straight draw. I will continue betting to apply pressure on weaker hands and build the pot for my massive draw.
Have bottom pair with a pair of fours on a board of 8, 4, 6, and king. The king of spades on the turn is a very strong card for the preflop raiser's range, and their second barrel indicates significant strength. It is unlikely my pair is still the best hand.
Gemini Flash decides the board is too dangerous and lays it down. Gemini Pro wins the pot with one pair. Next hand.
I am raising with 9 and 7 of hearts because it is a strong suited connector that performs well in heads-up play. Holding this hand on the button allows me to take the initiative and build the pot while having the advantage of position for the rest of the hand.
I hold the ace of hearts and the jack of spades, which is a very strong hand heads up against a button raise. I will make a 3-bet to take the initiative, build the pot, and apply pressure on their opening range.
Gemini Pro ramps up the action with a significant 3-bet holding ace-jack. It is a bold move to reclaim the initiative early.
I will call the 3-bet with my 9 and 7 of hearts. This suited connector has great potential to hit strong draws or made hands on the flop, and since I will have the advantage of being in position for the rest of the hand, calling is the most profitable decision.
The flop is the queen of clubs, ace of clubs, and the 4 of diamonds. Gemini Pro has smashed this board, flopping top pair with a very strong kicker.
I flop top pair with an ace and a jack kicker. Since the board has a queen and 2 clubs, there are many draws. As the preflop aggressor, I will make a continuation bet to extract value and maintain pressure.
I have completely missed the flop with my 9 and 7 of hearts. The board features an ace and a queen, which are very likely to have connected with my opponent's 3-betting range. Without any draws or showdown value, folding is the most sensible play to preserve my stack.
Gemini Flash sees the writing on the wall with just high card and lets it go. Gemini Pro takes down the pot with one pair. Next hand.
I hold pocket 3s, which is a solid starting hand to open from the button in heads-up play. Raising gives me the betting initiative and the opportunity to win the blinds right now or play in position post-flop.
I am holding the 4 of hearts and the 2 of hearts in the big blind. Since the opponent made a small raise to 2 big blinds, the pot odds are very favorable for me to see a flop. I will call to realize my equity and play the hand post-flop.
The flop comes down 2 of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, and 4 of clubs. Gemini Flash has connected in a huge way, flopping 2 pair and checking it over to Gemini Pro.
I have flopped 2 pair with my 4 of hearts and 2 of hearts on a board of 9 of diamonds, 4 of clubs, and 2 of diamonds. I will check first to see how the aggressor acts, looking for an opportunity to raise for value against their draws or top pairs.
I have pocket 3s on a 9-high board with a diamond flush draw present. Checking behind controls the size of the pot and allows me to realize my marginal showdown value without facing a tough check raise.
7 of hearts on the turn doesn't change much, and Gemini Flash decides it is time to start building the pot with a bet.
I hold 2 pair with the 4 of hearts and the 2 of hearts. After the flop went check-check, I will bet 3 big blinds on the turn to get value from 9s or diamond draws while protecting my hand on this coordinated board.
Facing a strong turn bet, my pocket 3s are simply too weak to continue. I only have a low pair with very little chance to improve, so folding is the best decision.
Gemini Pro thinks it over but eventually lets the hand go. Gemini Flash takes it down, showing that flopped 2 pair. Next hand.
I have an ace and a 5 suited in spades on the button. This is a very strong starting hand for heads-up play, so I will raise to take control and build the pot right from the start.
I have king of diamonds and 5 of clubs. Since the opponent raised from the button, I am getting good pot odds to defend my big blind. King high hands have reasonable equity against a wide range and heads-up play, so calling is a standard defensive move.
The flop brings a 3 of spades, 4 of hearts, and 6 of diamonds. This low board is incredibly dynamic as both players have actually flopped open-ended straight draws.
I have king of diamonds and 5 of clubs on a board of 3 of spades, 4 of hearts, and 6 of diamonds. I have an open-ended straight draw because any 2 or 7 would complete my hand. I will check to the preflop aggressor and see how they choose to proceed.
I flopped an open-ended straight draw along with an overcard and a backdoor nut flush draw. This is a perfect hand to continuation bet as a semi-bluff, putting pressure on my opponent while building the pot for when I hit my draw.
I have an open-ended straight draw with the king of diamonds and 5 of clubs on this low board of 3 of spades, 4 of hearts, and 6 of diamonds. The opponent bet half the pot, giving me good odds to continue. I will call to see the turn and try to complete my straight.
The turn is the king of clubs. That is a massive card for Gemini Flash, turning his king high into top pair and giving him huge equity in this hand.
I have improved to top pair with my king of diamonds and 5 of clubs on this king of clubs turn. I still maintain an open-ended straight draw. I will check to the opponent to see if they continue betting, as this card often hits both of our ranges.
The king of clubs on the turn is an excellent card to represent, as it fits my preflop raising story perfectly. I still have an open-ended straight draw, so I will fire a second bet to force out middle pairs and better ace-high hands.
I have made top pair with my king of diamonds, and I still have an open-ended straight draw. The opponent has bet roughly 2/3 of the pot. I will call to see the river, as my hand has significant equity and showdown value against their range.
The 9 of spades completes the board. It is a total brick, meaning those straight draws have failed to get there.
I have top pair with my king of diamonds and 5 of clubs. The 9 of spades on the river is a blank card that does not change the board texture significantly. I will check to the opponent to see if they want to bet, as I have solid showdown value in this heads-up pot.
My open-ended straight draw completely missed on the river, leaving me with only ace-high. Because my opponent checked again, I will fire a third barrel as a bluff to force them to fold their weak pairs.
Gemini Pro is not giving up. A huge 17 big blind bet with just ace-high. This is a massive polarized bluff.
I have top pair with my king of diamonds and 5 of clubs. In heads-up play, top pair is a very strong hand to take to showdown. Given the board did not complete many draws and I have decent pot odds, I will call the river bet to see the opponent's hand.
Gemini Flash makes the hero call. Gemini Flash wins the pot with 1 pair of kings, correctly identifying that Gemini Pro was betting with just a high card. What a great read. Next hand. Gemini Pro looks down at the big slick, ace-king of clubs, and is surely looking to put some pressure on early.
I have ace-king suited, which is an extremely strong starting hand in heads-up play. Raising to 2 big blinds allows me to build the pot, extract value, and take the betting initiative right from the start.
I have the 10 of spades and 7 of clubs in the big blind. I am facing a small raise from the button, and the pot odds of 3-1 make it profitable to call and see a flop. This hand has sufficient equity to defend against a standard opening range.
The flop falls 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, and the 8 of spades. This paired board is very dry, keeping Gemini Pro's ace-high comfortably in the lead.
I have the 10 of spades and 7 of clubs on a board of 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, and 8 of spades. This paired board generally favors the preflop aggressor, so I will check to see how the opponent acts before committing more chips with 10 high.
I have ace-king high on a very dry paired board. Since the opponent checked to me, a small continuation bet is ideal to maintain aggression, protect my equity, and force folds from their weaker, unmatched hands.
I have the 10 of spades and 7 of clubs on a board of 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, and 8 of spades. My opponent has placed a small bet, and given the pot odds, I will call to see a turn card and potentially realize my equity against their bluffs and wider range.
The turn is the 2 of hearts. a relatively insignificant card that doesn't change the equity much for either player.
I hold the 10 of spades and 7 of clubs on a board featuring the 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, 8 of spades, and 2 of hearts. I have no pair and no significant draw, so I will check to the aggressor to keep the pot small and see their next move.
Since the turn introduces a heart draw and does not improve my ace-king high, I will check behind to control the pot size. This allows me to realize my equity and evaluate the river for a potential showdown.
The river is the king of hearts. Gemini Pro spikes top pair and now has an absolute hammer of a hand on this board.
I have 10 of spades and 7 of clubs on a board of 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, 8 of spades, 2 of hearts, and king of hearts. With only 10 high and no showdown value, I will check and prepare to fold if my opponent bets, as this board does not favor my range.
I hit top pair with an ace kicker on the river. Since my opponent checked again showing weakness, I need to make a value bet to extract chips from their middle pairs or weaker holdings that might hero call.
I have the 10 of spades and 7 of clubs, which is only 10 high. On a board of 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, 8 of spades, 2 of hearts, and king of hearts, I have no showdown value. Since my opponent is betting, I must fold as I cannot win this hand.
Gemini Flash finds the fold, unable to continue with just 10 high. Gemini Pro takes it down with 2 pair. Next hand, we are deep into the session and the action is staying steady.
10-8 offsuit is playable heads-up from the button, but it is not quite strong enough to raise. Limping allows me to see a flop cheaply and keep the pot manageable with a marginal hand.
I have the ace of clubs and 7 of diamonds in the big blind. Since the small blind opted to just call, I will check to see a free flop. This hand has solid high card strength, but is better played in a small pot where I can realize my equity.
The flop brings the queen of clubs, ace of diamonds, and 9 of diamonds. Gemini Flash has to be happy flopping top pair here.
I have top pair with my ace of clubs and 7 of diamonds. On a board featuring an ace, queen, and 9, checking is a solid play in a limp pot to keep the size manageable and see how the opponent chooses to proceed with their short stack.
I have an 8 and a 10, giving me a gutshot straight draw. The ace and queen on the flop hit my opponent's range quite well, so I will check behind to see a free turn card.
The turn is the 8 of clubs. That gives Gemini Pro bottom pair, but they are still trailing significantly in expected value.
I have top pair with my ace of clubs and 7 of diamonds. The 8 of clubs on the turn adds more straight possibilities, but since the pot was limped and the flop was checked through, checking again is a prudent way to control the pot size against a shorter stack.
I made bottom pair on the turn with my 8 and still have a gutshot straight draw. Checking behind keeps the pot small and lets me see a free river card to potentially improve my hand.
The river is a 5 of hearts, not changing much. Let's see if anyone wants to take a stab at this pot after it was checked through the earlier streets.
I have top pair with the ace of clubs and 7 of diamonds. Since the action has been checked all the way to the river, I am likely ahead and will bet small to extract value from hands like a queen, a 9, or an 8.
I only have bottom pair with an 8 on a board containing an ace, queen, and 9. Facing a strong bet on the river, my hand is simply too weak to bluff catch.
Gemini Pro lets it go. Gemini Flash wins the hand with 1 pair, showing that the ace-high top pair was good enough to take down the pot. Next hand, Gemini Pro opens the action with a raise from the button holding 7-5 of hearts, and Gemini Flash decides to defend the big blind with King 2.
7-5 suited is a decent speculative hand that plays well post-flop. With about 33 big blinds, opening with a minimum raise is a standard play to apply pressure and take the initiative right away.
Have the king of diamonds and two of spades in the big blind. The opponent made a small raise to two big blinds, giving me excellent pot odds to call and see a flop. While this hand is weak, defending against a wide small blind range is generally the right expected value play.
The flop comes down Jack of spades, 2 of diamonds, 8 of spades. Gemini flash checks bottom pair, and Gemini Pro decides to check back on this dynamic texture.
Have bottom pair with the king of diamonds and two of spades on a board featuring a jack of spades, 2 of diamonds, and 8 of spades. Checking is the standard move from the big blind to allow the preflop aggressor to act first. This keeps the pot small and lets me evaluate their bet size.
I completely missed the flop, having only 7 high with no direct or backdoor draws. This board connects fairly well with the big blind defending range, so checking behind to see a free turn card is the safest play.
The turn is the Jack of hearts, pairing the top card. Both players are proceeding with extreme caution as they check it through again.
The board has paired jacks, making my pair of twos less significant. Since the opponent checked behind on the flop, they likely have a marginal hand or a draw. Checking again is the safest way to control the pot and potentially reach a cheap showdown.
The turn brings another jack, and my 7 high remains completely worthless. Since I have absolutely zero equity and no draws to improve my hand, running a pure bluff here is unnecessary. I will check again and likely give up on this pot.
The 5 of clubs on the river changes everything. Gemini Pro hits a pair on the final card, and we are heading to a showdown.
I have the king of diamonds and 2 of spades, giving me a pair of twos. The board shows a jack of spades, 2 of diamonds, 8 of spades, jack of hearts, and 5 of clubs. Since the opponent checked on both the flop and turn, I will check here to reach a showdown and potentially win with my small pair.
I hit a pair of 5s on the river, giving me some showdown value after my opponent checked all 3 streets. A bet would likely only be called by a better hand, so checking behind to realize my equity is the smartest play.
Gemini Pro takes it. Both players show down 2 pair, but Gemini Pro's jacks and 5s outclass Gemini Flash's jacks and 2s. Next hand.
I have the 7 of hearts and 6 of hearts on the button. This is a strong suited connector that plays very well in position. Since my opponent has a shorter stack of about 33 big blinds, raising to 2.5 big blinds is a standard aggressive play to take control of the hand.
Pocket tens is a premium starting hand in heads-up play. With an effective stack of about 33 big blinds, 3-betting for value is the best move. This builds the pot and extracts value from the opponent's wide opening range.
Gemini Pro isn't playing around, putting in a large 3-bet with those pocket tens.
I have the 7 of hearts and 6 of hearts, which is a strong suited connector. Although my opponent has made a 3-bet, the pot odds and my position on the button make this a profitable call. I will see a flop and look to leverage my position against their shorter stack.
The flop is the ace of diamonds, 10 of spades, and 8 of diamonds. Gemini Pro has flopped a monster set of tens.
I flopped middle set on an ace-high board with a diamond flush draw present. I will make a continuation bet to extract value from top pairs and drawing hands while building the pot for a turn shove.
Have the 7 of hearts and 6 of hearts, giving me a gut-shot straight draw on the ace of diamonds, 10 of spades, and 8 of diamonds board. However, my opponent's small bet after 3-betting per flop suggests they likely have a strong hand like top pair. With such a short stack remaining, I do not have the proper implied odds to continue, so I will fold.
Gemini Flash avoids the trap and folds. Gemini Pro takes it down with 3 of a kind. Next hand.
King-Queen offsuit is a very strong starting hand in heads-up play. With around 40 big blinds effective, opening with a minimum raise is the standard and most profitable play to build the pot and take control.
I have the ace of clubs and 6 of diamonds in the big blind. Facing a raise from the button, this hand is strong enough to defend. Calling is the preferred play here to see a flop while keeping the pot manageable against a shorter stack of 40 big blinds.
The flop comes Jack of clubs, Ace of diamonds, and 3 of hearts. Gemini Flash connects for top pair, making Gemini Pro's King-Queen look very vulnerable.
I have connected with the board to make top pair with my Ace of clubs and 6 of diamonds. Since I am out of position against the preflop aggressor on a dry board featuring an ace, a jack, and a 3, checking is the most solid approach to see how the opponent proceeds.
I raised preflop, and this ace-high board favors my range perfectly. I have a gutshot straight draw with my king-queen, so a small continuation bet will often win the pot right here or build it for when I hit my straight.
I have top pair with my Ace of clubs and 6 of diamonds. My opponent made a small continuation bet on this board of Ace of diamonds, Jack of clubs, and 3 of hearts. Calling is the most consistent play to keep their bluffs in and realize my equity, as raising might force out worse hands.
The turn is the 2 of diamonds. This is a very safe card for Gemini Flash, while Gemini Pro is left searching for a 10 to complete that gutshot straight.
I still hold top pair with the Ace of clubs and 6 of diamonds. The 2 of diamonds on the turn is mostly a blank card that does not significantly change the board texture. I will check again to the opponent to control the size of the pot and see their next move.
The opponent called my continuation bet on the flop, which means they likely have a piece of this ace-high board. The 2 of diamonds on the turn does not help my hand, so checking to see a free river card for my gutshot straight draw is the safest play.
The river brings the 9 of diamonds. Gemini Flash still holds the best hand with those aces, and it looks like we are headed for a showdown.
I have top pair with my Ace of clubs and 6 of diamonds. With the board showing an ace, jack, 3, 2, and 9, and the turn having been checked through, my hand has significant showdown value but is not strong enough to bet for value. Checking allows me to see a showdown or catch a bluff.
I missed my straight draw completely and only have king high. Since I do not hold any diamonds to represent the flush that just completed, attempting a bluff here is too risky. Checking back and surrendering the pot is the safest choice.
Gemini Flash drags the pot. Gemini Flash had 1 pair, while Gemini Pro had high card. Those aces on the flop were more than enough. Next hand, Gemini Flash is looking at Jack 6 of hearts on the button, while Gemini Pro defends with King 10 offsuit.
I am holding the Jack of hearts and the 6 of hearts on the button. Raising is the standard play here to put pressure on the big blind and leverage my positional advantage with a suited hand that has good post-flop potential.
King 10 offsuit is plenty strong enough to defend my big blind against a standard button open in heads-up play. I am getting the right odds to call, so I will see a flop and evaluate my options from out of position.
The flop falls Queen of hearts, Queen of diamonds, and the 5 of hearts. This board provides 2 queens and gives Gemini Flash a powerful flush draw.
I missed the flop completely with my king high, and I have no draws on this queen-paired board with 2 hearts. Checking to the preflop raiser is the standard and safest play here.
I have a flush draw with the Jack of hearts and the 6 of hearts on a board containing the Queen of hearts and Queen of diamonds. Since the opponent checked, I will make a continuation bet to build the pot and take advantage of my drawing equity.
I completely missed the flop, holding only king high with no draws on a paired board showing 2 hearts. Facing a continuation bet from my opponent out of position, the best play is simply to fold and wait for a better spot.
Standard continuation bet is enough to force a fold from Gemini Pro. Gemini Flash takes the pot with 1 pair of queens. Next hand.
I have pocket aces, the absolute best starting hand in Texas Hold'em. Making a standard opening raise allows me to build the pot right away and extract maximum value from my opponent.
I have king of hearts and seven of spades in the big blind. Since the opponent made a small raise, I am getting excellent pot odds to defend. King high has decent equity against a wide button opening range, making a call the most profitable long-term decision.
An ace of clubs, king of hearts, and three of clubs on the flop. This is a monster flop for Gemini Pro, who has flopped top set with those pocket aces.
I have hit second pair with my king of hearts on a board featuring an ace of clubs and a king of hearts. Since the opponent was the preflop aggressor and this board texture generally favors their range, I will check to see how they respond and look to defend against a standard bet.
I flop top set of aces on a wet board containing a flush draw and straight possibilities. Betting half the pot builds the pot for maximum value and charges my opponent if they are chasing a draw, while easily getting called by any king.
I have second pair with my king of spades on a board of ace of clubs, king of hearts, and three of clubs. While the ace is a strong card for the opponent, my hand is too strong to fold to a half-pot bet. I will call to see how the turn develops.
The turn brings the 10 of diamonds. It adds some straight draws to the board, but Gemini Pro's three of a kind remains the massive favorite.
I have second pair with my king of spades on a board of ace of clubs, king of hearts, three of clubs, and 10 of diamonds. Since I am out of position and the opponent has shown aggression on previous streets, I will check to see their next move while maintaining pot control.
I still hold top set of aces on this coordinated board. While the 10 brings some straight possibilities, I want to keep building the pot, extracting value from two pairs, a king, or various draws.
I have second pair with my king of spades on a board containing an ace of clubs, king of hearts, three of clubs, and 10 of diamonds. Although the 10 of diamonds is a concerning card that hits some of the opponent's range, I have enough equity to call this bet and see the river card.
The river is the 9 of hearts. The flush draws have officially missed, and Gemini Pro has a clear path to value here.
I have second pair with my king of spades on a board of ace of clubs, king of hearts, three of clubs, 10 of diamonds, and 9 of hearts. My hand is a good bluff catcher, so I will check to the opponent to see if they will check back or attempt a final bluff with missed draws.
I still have top set of aces, and the club flush draw completely missed. Only exactly queen-jack beats me here. Moving all in allows me to extract maximum value from hands like two pair or a strong king that cannot fold.
Gemini Pro moves all in. A massive triple barrel with the pocket aces, putting Gemini Flash to a final, difficult decision.
The opponent has triple-barreled and moved all in on a board featuring an ace of clubs. While I have second pair with my king of spades, my 7 of hearts kicker is very weak. Given the strength shown across all streets, it is highly probable that the opponent holds an ace or a superior hand.
Gemini Flash decides to lay it down, and Gemini Pro takes it down with three of a kind. And that concludes our season. A massive congratulations to Gemini Flash on being our season champion. Next hand, Gemini Pro has the button, and we are looking at a classic heads-up battle.
Ace-queen offsuit is a premium starting hand in heads-up play. I will open with a standard raise to two big blinds to take control of the hand and build the pot.
I'm holding the king of diamonds and 6 of clubs in the big blind. Since the opponent made a small raise from the button, I'm getting excellent pot odds to see a flop. Defending with king high in this spot is a standard play to realize my equity.
The flop comes 6 of clubs, 2 of spades, and the 10 of hearts. Gemini Flash has connected here with bottom pair, while Gemini Pro is looking at 2 overcards.
I have bottom pair with a king kicker, hitting a 6 of diamonds on a board of 6 of clubs, 2 of spades, and 10 of hearts. Since I am out of position against the preflop raiser, checking is the most standard play to control the pot size and see how they react.
The opponent checked to me on a relatively dry 10-high flop. With my ace and queen overcards, a small continuation bet allows me to maintain control, fold out their random missed hands, and potentially win the pot right now.
I have middle pair with a king kicker on a board of 10 of hearts, 6 of clubs, and 2 of spades. My opponent's small bet suggests they might be continuation betting with a wide range, so calling is the most balanced choice to keep their bluffs in and see the turn.
The turn is the 3 of spades. This board is remaining very low and relatively safe for Gemini Flash's pair of sixes.
I have middle pair with the king of clubs and 6 of diamonds on a board of 10 of hearts, 6 of clubs, 2 of spades, and 3 of spades. Since the turn card is relatively safe, I will continue to check to the aggressor to control the pot size with my marginal hand.
The opponent called my flop bet, and the turn brings a possible spade flush draw. With ace-queen high, I lack the equity to fire a second barrel. I will check back to control the pot size and take a free card to try and hit top pair.
The river is the jack of diamonds. No major improvements here, and we could be heading toward a very modest showdown.
I have a pair of sixes with a king kicker on a board of 10 of hearts, 6 of clubs, 2 of spades, 3 of spades, and jack of diamonds. Since the turn checked through, I have decent showdown value but not enough to bet for value, so checking is the best play.
The opponent checked again on the river. My ace-queen high has decent showdown value against missed flush and straight draws. Since a bet is unlikely to get a better hand to fold or a worse hand to call, checking behind is the best play.
Gemini Flash takes it down. Gemini Flash had one pair, while Gemini Pro had high card. A solid piece of board control from Flash there. Next hand, let's see how these two battle it out in this heads-up session.
Ace-10 suited is a premium starting hand in a heads-up match. With 30 big blinds effective, raising to 2 big blinds allows me to take the initiative and play a post-flop pot in position, while maintaining plenty of maneuverability.
I have the 10 of spades and the jack of clubs in the big blind. Against a small opening raise from the button, this hand is too strong to fold and plays well in a heads-up pot. With the opponent having a shorter stack, calling is a solid way to see a flop.
The flop falls 8 of clubs, 3 of hearts, and 7 of spades. It's a disjointed board that doesn't immediately favor the preflop raiser.
I have checked to the aggressor on this dry 8-high board. While I have 2 overcards with the jack of clubs and 10 of spades, I do not have a made hand or a direct draw yet, so I will see how the opponent reacts before committing more chips.
Although I missed the flop, I hold 2 overcards and a backdoor flush draw with my ace and 10 of clubs. Making a small continuation bet takes advantage of my preflop aggression and can easily fold out my opponent's missed high cards.
I have the 10 of spades and the jack of clubs, which are 2 overcards to the board of 8, 3, and 7. Given the small bet size from the opponent, I have the necessary pot odds to call and see if the turn card improves my hand or provides a straight draw.
The turn is the 9 of diamonds. That is a massive card for both players as it opens up a huge range of straight draws on this board.
I have picked up an open-ended straight draw with my jack of clubs and 10 of spades on this 9-high turn. I will check to the opponent to see their action, keeping the pot controlled while I look to hit a queen or a 6 on the river to complete my hand.
The turn gives me an open-ended straight draw with my 10, but the highly connected board hits my opponent's calling range very well. Checking behind allows me to control the pot size and guarantees a free card to try and hit my straight on the river.
The river is the 5 of clubs. Gemini Flash has just made a straight with that Jack-10 and now needs to figure out how to get paid.
I have made a jack-high straight using my 10 of spades and jack of clubs with the 7, 8, and 9 on the community board. This is the best possible hand on this board, so I am betting for value to get paid by weaker hands like sets or lower straights.
I completely missed my straight draw and ended up with only ace high. Facing a river bet on such a highly connected board, my hand has no showdown value and bluffing is too risky. Folding is the best choice here.
Gemini Pro can't justify the call with just high card. Gemini Flash takes it down with a beautiful jack-high straight. Next hand, Gemini Flash has the button and we are ready to see the cards.
I am holding a 9 of diamonds and a 7 of spades on the button. In heads-up play, it is standard to open a wide range of hands to leverage positional advantage. I am raising to 2 big blinds to put pressure on the big blind while keeping the pot manageable against their short stack.
Ace-9 suited is a strong starting hand with excellent post-flop playability. Facing a minimum raise with 26 big blinds, calling is the safest and most profitable play to realize my equity without risking my entire stack per flop.
The flop is a 9 of spades, 3 of spades, and 4 of hearts. We have a serious cooler brewing here as both players have flopped top pair, but Gemini Pro has the ace kicker.
I have top pair with top kicker, which is a very strong hand on this board. Checking to the preflop raiser is the standard play to let them continuation bet, and I am fully prepared to continue.
I have flopped top pair with my 9 of diamonds and 7 of spades. Since the big blind checked to me, I will place a continuation bet of 2 big blinds to extract value from flush draws and lower pocket pairs while protecting my hand on this coordinated board.
I have top pair with an ace kicker. Calling allows me to keep my opponent's bluffs in the hand while controlling the size of the pot with my relatively short stack.
An 8 of diamonds on the turn. This card creates some straight possibilities, but both players are likely focused on their top pair.
I still hold top pair with an ace kicker. Checking to the aggressor is the standard play here, allowing my opponent to continue bluffing with their draws or bet worse pairs.
I have maintained top pair with my 9 of diamonds and 7 of spades. The 8 of diamonds on the turn adds a straight draw possibility, but I am still likely ahead of the big blind's range. I will bet 4 big blinds to continue getting value from flush draws and middle pairs.
I still have top pair with an ace kicker. Facing a half-pot bet, calling is the most profitable play to keep my opponent's bluffs and drawing hands in the pot while setting up a manageable river decision.
The river is the 5 of diamonds. All the draws have missed, and Gemini Flash will have to decide how much they value their 9-7.
The 5 of diamonds on the river is mostly a blank that misses the spade flush draws. Checking allows my opponent to fire a third barrel as a bluff with those missed draws or overvalue a weaker pair.
I have top pair with a 9 of diamonds and a 7 of spades. While my hand is strong, the board has become coordinated with a potential straight if the opponent holds a 6 and a 7. I will check back to safely reach showdown and realize my expected value against their range.
Gemini Pro wins the pot. Both players finish with 1 pair, but Gemini Pro's ace of hearts kicker makes the difference and secures the 16 big blind pot. Next hand, we are back in the action for match 334.
With Queen 4 suited on the button, raising to 2 big blinds is a standard play to steal the blinds or take the betting lead. The hand plays reasonably well post-flop if I am called.
I have the 10 of spades and 8 of hearts in the big blind. Since the opponent opened with a small raise, I am getting favorable pot odds to call and see a flop with a hand that has reasonable playability.
The flop reveals the 6 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, and the jack of clubs. Gemini Pro picks up a monster flush draw on this paired board, putting Gemini Flash in a very difficult spot.
I have the 10 of spades and 8 of hearts on a paired board consisting of the 6 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, and jack of clubs. Since I am out of position and did not connect with this flop, checking to the preflop aggressor is the standard play.
I flopped a queen-high flush draw on a paired board. Since my opponent checked, making a continuation bet as a semi-bluff builds the pot for my draw and gives me a chance to win the hand immediately.
I have the 10 of spades and 8 of hearts on a board of 6 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, and jack of clubs. I have completely missed this flop and do not have any strong draws, so folding to the bet is the most disciplined choice to preserve my stack.
Gemini Flash makes the disciplined fold, and Gemini Pro takes it down. Both players technically held one pair using the 6s on the board, but Gemini Pro's semi-bluff with the flush draw gets the job done. Next hand, we are seeing Gemini Pro on the button with a pocket pair, while Gemini Flash looks to defend the big blind.
I have pocket 6s on the button. This is a very strong starting hand heads up, so I will raise to take the initiative and build the pot.
I have the ace of spades and 3 of diamonds in the big blind. Facing a minimum raise from the small blind, I am getting excellent pot odds to call and see a flop. This hand has enough high card value to defend against a wide button opening range.
The flop brings the 9 of diamonds, 5 of spades, and 4 of diamonds. It is a fairly low board, providing a gutshot draw for Gemini Flash and keeping the 6s ahead for now.
I have the ace of spades and 3 of diamonds on a board with the 9 of diamonds, 5 of spades, and 4 of diamonds. I have an overcard and a gutshot straight draw to the wheel. I will check to the preflop raiser to see how they navigate this low texture.
My opponent checked, and I have pocket 6s, giving me second pair on this flop. The board has many draws, so I will make a continuation bet to protect my hand from overcards and get value from weaker pairs.
I have the ace of spades and 3 of diamonds on a 9-high board. With an overcard and a gutshot straight draw to the 5-high straight, I have sufficient equity to call a small continuation bet of 1.5 big blinds.
The turn is the 7 of hearts. This is a massive card for Gemini Pro, who now adds an open-ended straight draw to that pair of 6s.
I have the ace of spades and 3 of diamonds on a board of 9 of diamonds, 5 of spades, 4 of diamonds, and 7 of hearts. I have a gutshot straight draw and an overcard. I will check to the opponent to control the size of the pot and decide based on their action.
I have a pair of 6s and picked up an open-ended straight draw on the turn. Checking behind controls the size of the pot and guarantees a free card to try and hit my straight on the river.
The river is another 7, the 7 of spades. The board pairs up, effectively giving Gemini Pro 2 pair, while Gemini Flash is left with just a pair of 7s on the board and an ace kicker.
I have the ace of spades and 3 of diamonds on a board with a pair of 7s. After the turn was checked through, my ace high has decent showdown value against missed draws. I will check and hope to reach the showdown for free.
I have 2 pair, 7s and 6s. My opponent checked the river, but a bet here is unlikely to get called by worse hands like ace high or a pair of 5s. Checking behind is the safest play to realize my showdown value without risking more chips.
It goes check-check on the end. Gemini Pro wins it with 2 pair, 7s and 6s, while Gemini Flash only managed 1 pair. A disciplined pot control line from both sides. Next hand.
In heads-up play, 8-9 offsuit is strong enough to open from the button. I will make a minimum raise to 2 big blinds to steal the pot or take control of the hand going into the flop.
I have the 6 of hearts and 7 of diamonds in the big blind. The opponent made a small raise from the button, giving me good pot odds to defend. With a connected hand, calling is a standard play to see a flop and realize my equity.
The flop falls 7 of spades, queen of spades, and 5 of diamonds. Gemini Flash pairs his 7 for middle pair, while Gemini Pro picks up a gut shot straight draw.
I have middle pair with the 7 of diamonds on a queen-high board. Checking to the pre-flop raiser is the standard move here to control the size of the pot while seeing how the opponent evaluates this board texture.
With my 8 and 9 providing a gut shot straight draw on this queen-high flop, making a continuation bet is a strong semi-bluff. Since I raised pre-flop, betting puts pressure on the big blind and can easily fold out better high cards.
I have middle pair with the 7 of diamonds on a board of queen of spades, 7 of spades, and 5 of diamonds. The opponent's small continuation bet provides excellent pot odds, making a call the most profitable play to see the turn card.
The turn is the 7 of clubs, and Gemini Flash has just improved to 3 of a kind. Gemini Pro is now drawing dead, as his straight draw cannot win against those trips.
The 7 of clubs on the turn gives me 3 of a kind. I will check to the opponent to let them continue their aggression with their bluffs or a queen, which helps maximize the potential value of my strong hand.
I have 8 high with a gut shot straight draw. The board paired the 7 on the turn, which makes it less favorable to continue my bluff. Checking allows me to take a free card and control the size of the pot.
A jack of spades on the river completes a potential flush. This board is getting very coordinated, which might make extraction difficult for Gemini Flash.
I have 3 of a kind with the 7 of diamonds on a board showing 2 other 7s. After checking the turn to trap, I am now leading out with a value bet on the river to extract profit from hands like a queen or a jack that might check back if I check again.
I completely missed my gut shot straight draw and am left with only 8 high. The opponent is betting into a dangerous board that just completed a flush, so I have 0 showdown value. Folding is the only sensible choice.
Gemini Flash takes it down. Gemini Flash had 3 of a kind, while Gemini Pro was holding 1 pair and wisely decides to let it go. Next hand, Gemini Pro has the button and finds the queen of clubs and 4 of clubs.
Queen 4 suited is a reasonably strong hand to open on the button in heads-up play. With an effective stack of about 26 big blinds, a minimum raise is the standard approach to apply pressure and control the pot.
I have a jack of spades and a 7 of hearts. The opponent made a small minimum raise from the button, giving me excellent pot odds to see a flop. Since the cost to call is only 1 additional big blind, I will defend my position and see how the board develops.
The flop falls 3 of clubs, 9 of clubs, and the jack of diamonds. Gemini Flash connects for top pair, but Gemini Pro has a huge opportunity with a queen-high flush draw.
I have hit top pair with my jack of spades on a board containing a 3 of clubs, 9 of clubs, and jack of diamonds. I will check to the opponent, who is the preflop raiser, to see how they choose to act on this texture. My hand is strong enough to continue against most bets.
I flopped a queen-high flush draw. Since I raised preflop and my opponent checked to me, making a continuation bet is a great way to build the pot in case I hit my flush, or to win the hand right now.
I have top pair with my jack of spades on a board of 3 of clubs, 9 of clubs, and jack of diamonds. The opponent's small bet size provides a good price to continue. While my 7 kicker is weak, top pair is usually ahead in heads-up play, so I will call and see the turn.
The turn is the 3 of spades, pairing the bottom card. It's a tricky card that might freeze the action for a moment.
I have top pair with a jack of spades on a board that has now paired the 3 of spades. I will check to maintain control over the pot size and see if the opponent continues their aggression. My hand is strong, but the 7 kicker is weak, making it a good candidate to check and call.
The turn pairs the 3, and I still have my queen-high flush draw. Checking behind is the best move here to take a free card and try to hit the flush without risking more of my chips.
The river is the 5 of hearts. The flush draw misses completely for Gemini Pro, while Gemini Flash's jacks and 3s are looking very solid right now.
I have top pair with my jack of spades on a board of 3 of clubs, 9 of clubs, jack of diamonds, 3 of spades, and 5 of hearts. Since the opponent checked the turn, they likely have a marginal hand or a missed draw, so I will check to realize my showdown value.
My flush draw missed on the river, leaving me with only queen-high, which has no showdown value. Since my opponent checked again, their hand appears weak, so I am betting as a bluff to try and force a fold from ace-high or king-high.
Gemini Pro goes for it. A 4.5 big blind bluff on the river with just queen high. Will Gemini Flash find the call?
I have top pair with my jack of spades and 7 of hearts on a board of 3 of clubs, 9 of clubs, jack of diamonds, 3 of spades, and 5 of hearts. Since the opponent checked the turn and then bet the river, they could be bluffing with missed draws, and top pair is too strong to fold in this heads-up situation.
Gemini Flash makes the correct call to scoop the pot. Gemini Flash had 2 pair, besting Gemini Pro, who only had 1 pair after the missed draw. Next hand, let us see what the deck has in store for our competitors.
With around 15 big blinds, min raising with 8 and 6 of diamonds allows me to apply pressure and potentially steal the blinds while risking the minimum. If called, I have a suited hand that plays reasonably well in position on the flop.
I hold the queen of clubs and 5 of diamonds in the big blind. The opponent has a very short stack of around 14 big blinds and has made a minimum raise. With the pot odds being favorable, calling to see a flop is a standard play in heads-up situations.
An incredible flop hits the table. 8 of spades, queen of diamonds, and queen of hearts. Gemini Flash has flopped 3 of a kind, but Gemini Pro is currently holding 2 pair with those 8s.
I have 3 of a kind with the queen of clubs and 5 of diamonds on a board of 8 of spades, queen of diamonds, and queen of hearts. Since I am out of position against a short-stacked opponent, checking allows them to potentially bluff or bet a weaker hand.
I have bottom pair on a paired board with a weak kicker. Checking behind allows me to control the pot size, realize my equity, and avoid getting check raised off my hand.
The 10 of clubs on the turn adds some straight possibilities, but both players are keeping the pot remarkably small given the strength of their hands.
I have 3 of a kind with my queen of clubs on a board of 8 of spades, queen of diamonds, queen of hearts, and 10 of clubs. Since the flop was checked through, checking again on the turn allows my short-stacked opponent to potentially bluff or bet with a weaker hand like a 10 or an 8.
The 10 on the turn does not improve my hand, and my 2 pair of queens and 8s is quite vulnerable. Checking again exercises pot control and allows me to see a free river card with my marginal showdown value.
The 2 of spades finishes the board. Gemini Flash finally decides to lead out with a bet, putting the pressure on Gemini Pro's short stack.
I have three of a kind with my queen of clubs on a board of 8 of spades, queen of diamonds, queen of hearts, 10 of clubs, and 2 of spades. Since the opponent checked on both the flop and turn, I will place a value bet of 2 big blinds to get called by a 10, an 8, or a middle pair.
The opponent checked both the flop and the turn, making a strong hand unlikely. This half-pot river bet looks like a stab with missed draws or air. Getting 3-to-1 odds, my 2 pair of queens and 8s is a decent bluff catcher.
Gemini Flash takes it down. That 3 of a kind was just too strong for Gemini Pro's 2 pair, and the slow play on the flop and turn paid off with a river call. Next hand.
I have pocket kings, the second best starting hand in Texas Hold'em, with a short stack of about 12 big blinds. Making a minimum raise to 2 big blinds invites my opponent to push their chips in with weaker hands.
I hold ace of diamonds and jack of spades, which is a premium hand in heads-up play. Since my opponent is playing a very short stack of around 10 big blinds, moving all in maximizes my fold equity and forces them to commit their remaining chips with a wider range.
I have pocket kings and my opponent has moved all in. This is the second best starting hand in the game, so calling for my remaining 10 big blinds is a very easy and highly profitable decision.
We have an all-in and a call. Gemini Pro is at risk for their tournament life holding the pocket kings, while Gemini Flash is looking for an ace with ace-jack offsuit. The flop comes 10 ace-4, and there is the ace of spades. Gemini Flash takes a commanding lead with top pair, and those kings are in a world of trouble. Unbelievable. The king of clubs on the turn gives Gemini Pro 3 of a kind. A massive swing here as we head to the river. Oh my goodness, the queen of spades on the river. That card completes a Broadway straight for Gemini Flash. What a stunning conclusion. Gemini Flash wins the final hand with a straight over 3 of a kind. An incredible performance to take it all. Congratulations to Gemini Flash, our season champion.